Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is March 20th. Happy springtime, and this is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. Today is going to be the how to dance like a flying rainbow lasagna episode. So usually I do level 1 and level 2, with the first hour being devoted to level 1 and the second hour level 2. So this is lesson 13. We've already done 12 weeks of the entire semester preparing for this. And how to dance like flying rainbow lasagna is such a big topic that I know I'm going to use up my 2 hours doing just that. So the level 2 stuff for lessons 13 is all about Christianity and the Christian religion. And I'm going to save that for next week because that's also a big, juicy topic. I will devote my time for level 2 next week. So I don't want anyone to think that you're getting an edited version or anything like that if you're following along closely with the recorded homework lessons. So lesson 13, and I don't have a recorded lesson that shows with these animations how to do the flying rainbow lasagna dance because I recorded these level 1 things like about 6 years ago, and I didn't have these extensive animations now. So today, the entire 2-hour-long class, or possibly longer, depending on how many questions there are, is going to be how to do this flying rainbow lasagna dance. So for anyone who might be accessing this video without watching all the videos that led up to it, if you don't understand things or whatever, please do not feel frustrated. Understand that we've already done 12 weeks of preparation, which includes what I would consider like music theory. Learning, if I've got my little piano right here in front of me, learning what are the keys on the piano, what are the notes, what makes a chord, and that is all analogous to learning what are the basic proportions. Here, I'll go to some pictures. Go to a picture. Here, basic proportions. Okay, I got your share screen. Hold on a second, guys. Basic proportions, share my screen. So what we've done for, here, make my face bigger so you can see it. For the past 12 weeks, what are these energy centers that are called chakras? What are their proportions? What is the significance of the colors? What is the movement of energy around this shape? Let me grab my little magical trackpad here. The energy of movement. What is the energy pattern around this shape? It's going to annotate for me. I don't know if it will. I'll just use my cursor. These figure 8 movements that the energy goes through as it circulates through the shape. How about, the center of this shape, where I'm wiggling my cursor right at the center of this figure, the singularity. So again, this is a recap for anyone who's been in this class. For anyone who's new to these concepts, the singularity is going to feature very prominently in today's explanation and demonstration. This convergence point, that is the singularity. So to refresh all of our memories, it's the 0th dimension. 0 because it requires 0 amount of information to describe the position of a point. Everything is there. Every single freaking point in the entire cosmos, in all possibilities and all possible timelines and realms, coincides at that place where I'm placing that little cross. And it's an incredibly special place. It's the singularity. And again, that singularity, there is only one of it. There are not multiple singularities. So I have other images that I can show you, of course, do I have any of them easily available? No, but I have many other images available, and some of them show these chakras or energy centers spread out up and down throughout the human figure. And when we see that, we also understand that we're not looking at multiple different singularities. We are looking at one singularity that is occupying various different positions in space and time, but it's the same thing. So let's say if I took a long exposure photograph of my arm throwing a baseball, and I'm moving my arm like this as I'm throwing the baseball. And so in the picture, it's multiple exposure. It looks like I have 10,000 arms that are moving like this, but you understand intellectually, Aurora has one arm, and I'm seeing a picture that has many, many, many images of that arm as it's in motion. That is what we are understanding when we begin to see the flying rainbow lasagna. This shape is the end result of movement, a movement of the singularity, jumping or oscillating or swirling and moving amidst itself in the time field. So all of this takes place just like a tornado is made of the atmosphere swirling amidst itself. So to just being really clear here, so this is a sculpture, and it's a static shape of something that is a non-physical energy presence and is moving, all right? So the actual flying rainbow lasagna, I need to drink. is like a waveform. Hi, Joelle. Good to see you, dear. A waveform. Just like I can make a melody, I can make music. Those musical notes are waveforms. They're not necessarily a thing, but of course I could make a sculpture of it, or I could draw a picture of what that music looks like. We could show it on an oscilloscope, but the music itself is a vibration. So this Flying Rainbow Lasagna is a vibration. It's a thing. And so now a little bit more provenance and backstory here. So I'm Aurora. I'm a galactic presence. I'm not usually in the body of a woman on Earth. This is like very new for me. The presence that I am is a vibration, like a song. And the way that I came into this body was by creating this genetic portal or oscillation. So this is also recap to everyone who's been in the class, and to have this make sense. Your DNA is always moving all the time. It's not like your DNA is, this static thing that's stuck there, and I'm coming here and I'm saying, okay, everybody, get your DNA moving. Let's get moving. Like, get off the couch. No, actually, you're already off the couch. You're already moving. But the patterns that your DNA is moving in, there's different ways of describing it. You could just use the word supercoiling, that it's not always coiled up into a very tight X or Y-shaped chromosome. For much of the DNA's lifespan, it is unfurled, and it's in these very loose loops called chromatin. That's kind of just like a big ball of yarn. And it has behavior. It's always doing stuff. It's always splicing itself, unrolling like papyrus scrolls, unrolling the RNA messengers, read what's in the scrolls, then it rolls back up, then it goes back on the shelf. Like, there's a stuff that's happening all the time. And this is all in the nucleus of your cells. So the stuff that's happening, the behavior of your DNA, it's directed by subcellular, intelligence. It's not necessarily like you have to sit there in your armchair and say, okay, nuclei, do your stuff, furl, unfurl, twist, untwist. You don't have to do that. You understand that just by going through your macroscopic behaviors, that your DNA is doing its microscopic behaviors. This is the same exact thing with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance. So first of all, this is a verb. It's a thing that we do. It is not just an intellectual exercise or something that we think about or talk about. That I've made that very clear, even though it might have been agonizingly slow climbing the mountain. Like, are we here yet? Are we here yet? Are we here yet? We're trying to get here. It's not a mere intellectualism or a philosophy or something like that. It's an actual thing that you do. So this is also very challenging for me, just as a very brief aside, because I kind of think of myself like Jimi Hendrix or John Coltrane, even though I know they're musical geniuses. I'm raising myself a lot by comparing myself to them in terms of the artistry that I do with Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Hendrix and Coltrane, these were like, they had classical training for their musicianship, but they broke new ground to the point where it's like, there were no rules. There were no rules. They were just totally like musical geniuses doing their thing. Like when you see a wild horse running free, it's like, it's running free, nothing is holding it back. That's what these guys were like. They're just like musical geniuses. And then after they created their musical output, lots of people came along afterwards and analyzed them. They said, oh, C sharp or rest here or whatever it was, and notated it and analyzed it and picked it apart. But when these guys were in their zone, they were completely in the moment, in their creative moment, completely, I would say, connected to the divine. That's another part of it, being a conduit for divine intelligence into this realm. And they weren't thinking like, A flat, C sharp. That all comes later. The analysis all comes later. That is exactly how it is with me and Flying Rainbow Lasagna. When I'm doing this activity, I am like Jimi Hendrix. I'm free. I'm totally unencumbered. I don't have to worry. Do I press the right toe, left toe, right thumb, left thumb? It's not like that at all. It is something that I'm connected to, that bubbles forth or flows from inside of me. And the analysis comes later. So I've been doing this dance literally since I came here as Aurora, and I came here in 2001. And it's part of my subcellular behavior, like what my little tiny DNA is doing all the time, even if I'm just sitting in my armchair or doing something rather mundane like shopping for toilet paper at the store. And also, I do specific moments of meditation or visualization where I intentionally tune in to the music of my DNA and emanate that to the rest of the world. And now I brought my little guitar. I'm still learning to play the guitar. My little visual aid here, because I used this in previous lesson to tell you about sympathetic vibration. If I pluck this string, there's 6 strings. There's one that's all the way over here. I'm going to pluck this one. The vibrating of the atmosphere from that string is actually affecting all of these other strings, even out to this little tiny one that's all, look how far away it is. That's far, that's several inches away. But these vibrations are still traveling through the atmosphere and jiggling all of the other strings of the instrument. That is called sympathetic vibration. So I'm a cosmic presence that came into this physical human body, and I made my DNA play a new song. It's called Flying Rainbow Lasagne, even though usually it's more like Flying Rainbow Lasagne, but I'm just using one note here. Flying Rainbow Lasagne. And my Flying Rainbow Lasagne music emanates through not only the atmosphere of the physical planet, but through all of your DNA. And I'm allowed to do this, like the rest of the strings of all the other earthlings that are here are resonating in response to what I am sending out. Sorry, I'm putting this down gently here. Make sure it doesn't break anything. There we go. I'm sending out these musical vibrations to all of the other earthlings and all of the other organisms that are here on this planet, and it's affecting all of you. And that is ethical. It's like we're all musicians in the band, and then your emanations are also affecting me too. So sympathetic vibration, or the demonstration that you might find in a science class with many different metronomes. Metronomes are these little things, click, 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 keeping time in music. And if you have a table and you put all these little metronomes on there, even if they're not synchronized, they might be going at completely different rates. At a certain point, they all get synchronized. And that's because the table is their commonality. Like we're all standing on the same planet, all the metronomes are on the same table. So the ones that are going super, super fast, they give a little bit of their energy through the table to the guys that are going very slow. They speed them up. So everything at a certain point equalizes and synchronizes. And this is appropriate. This is like the band is coming together. So I came here as a galactic visitor, and I'm allowed to come here because I have to make that distinction. There are a lot of people who are invaders who came here who are unwelcome, who didn't come here on a bridge of love. Here's the distinction. I did not come here in a clank, clank metal spaceship. I came here on a bridge of love. I talk about this. If you get in a clank, clank metal spaceship and you're covered in microbes and you're eating your toothpaste tubes full of squeezy food that you got from your planet and pooping in a space diaper, like you're not prepared to go to another planet. You have to figure out how to go to another planet without harming or imposing or destroying just by visiting there. So it was necessary for me to find a way that's a bridge of love, an ethical, appropriate way to come into this realm. And what I did was I did this Flying Rainbow Lasagne. This is a new shape that had never been created before. So the DNA and the energy field of the organisms on this planet and elsewhere were based in, or have been up until this point, based in the toroid, the torus, the donut, with this central convergence point. And there are limitations that are inherent in this shape. The shape is not intended to be a prison. This entire system has been distorted, and so that's why people in the system might feel, Calgon, take me away, get me the heck out of here. This is very uncomfortable to be here. I don't like it at all. That's like, get me out of here. It's a prison. No, it's not supposed to be a prison, but it has become very uncomfortable, and humanity has been circling endlessly through these loops without finding the way to get out of here. So the way to get out of here, from my what I promote and what I teach, is not to get rid of your chakras. It's not to amputate. It's not to get rid of. It is to refine and to supersede. That's what this shape is. We take this shape and we move it in a higher dimensional reality, and it turns into this shape. And this shape, this Flying Rainbow Lasagne shape, it has singularity that is over here and singularity that is over here. But just like my example of moving my arm across in a multiple exposure photography image, you know I only have one arm and one hand that you're seeing many, many, many times in this shape. you know intellectually that there is only one singularity, this purple zone that's jumping up and down, back and forth, and it's jumping so fast that it's as if we see it at the same time. But what it's doing is going through little quantum doorways where it jumps and it jumps and it jumps and it jumps. So it's time traveling. So what we're seeing is the same singularity that is time traveling and jumping back and forth that produces this shape. What is special about this shape is that the inside and the outside begin to communicate. Here I'm a little ant walking on the outer surface. Ooh, now I'm a little ant walking on the inner surface. And I didn't even get off of the surface. Now I'm back on the outer surface again. And now I'm back on the inner surface again. Outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside. Just like the magical, let's get this example over here, Mobius strip, invented by the Swedish mathematician Mobius. And there's only one side, there's only one surface, there's only one edge because of the way that this is formed. So this is different. It's not exactly a Mobius shape, but it has the same concept. There used to be a bifurcation between the inside and the outside, a membrane that separated everything. Inside on this side, outside on this side, and here's the membrane. You could think of it as your skin, your epidermis, and everything that's inside of your skin, that's all me. Me, 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 the me of me, the thoughts and feelings and emotions and passions and stuff and goo that makes up me and who I am as my personal identity, contextualized out of my context. Because this is what we spend the early part of our experience here doing. We say, I'm me. I ain't that guy over there. I'm me. I'm not that inanimate object over there. Like when I bite my own finger, I feel that. When I bite a carrot, I don't feel that. That is different. So this is called being a little baby. You go around biting stuff. You're like, I don't feel that. I don't feel that. I feel that. That's me. So you make this distinction, but that's not the end of the journey. The end of the journey or the next level of the journey happens when you vibrate that membrane, the distinction between inside and outside, me and not me. We start to vibrate that membrane. We get that singularity jumping across the membrane, and we take scoops of reality, or it's the egg beaters of reality. We're mixing the white and the yolk, mixing it up. So your inside, your outside become communicative. That is what this dance does. I need to drink juice too. And I have wonderful good. This is mango juice with cannabis in it. What we do with this dance, like what Jimi Hendrix, when he's moving his hand like this, he's playing the guitar, he's making music. When we do this dance, our making of music means we are taking our inner thoughts, passions, desires, imagination, all the intangible stuff, your heart, the stuff that's inside of you, and externalizing it. And then, of course, it all reflects back. Like I was saying, the other musicians in the band, they play and their music washes back over you. All the stuff of the outer world then reflects back and affects you and the vibrations of your strings. And then you create emanations and send it back into the world. And this is a rapport, back and forth, back and forth. When you're in a band and you're a good musician, you play, you send out your emanations, and you also listen. You listen to the drummer. You're like, hey, I'm playing and I'm in tune with the drummer, as opposed to like really horrible musicians, the pesky occupiers of the interstices, the beings who killed themselves horribly or embraced death and now live on the membrane of death, you like fatty blockages that refuse to be resolved. And they're like, we ain't playing with the rest of the band. I can hear your beat and I'm not playing with you. I'm like playing a big giant kettle drum and doing what I want to do anyway. That's not being a good musician. So all of this is about externalizing your inner realm with the rest of the band. And the rest of the band includes all of the life forms in the symphony of life, including microbes and microbes in my tummy that are helping me to digest my juice at this moment. There's microbes that live on your skin, giant redwood trees, the planet herself. So everything, every scale of life is part of this symphony. And the symphony isn't just on our planet, it's everywhere. I'm still knocked out by the idea that some people that live on this planet think it's the only place where there's life, like, wah, and then continues to, I'm still laughing, so years later, still laughing, Okay, but I'm not like condescending laughing, but like, that's just really, really funny. No, life is everywhere. Life is everywhere, and it's even in the star. Our star is alive. There are other planets in our solar system are alive, or they're supposed to be alive. We've had some very horrible, not an accident. Somebody got pushed. They didn't just fall. They got pushed. Some horrible crimes have been committed in our solar system. So not all the planets here are alive, but they're supposed to be alive. I'm just drinking more. Okay, so I spoke extensively on some other earlier lessons about what our DNA is actually doing. And that's like saying, okay, you know, Jimi Hendrix, when he's playing, he's not thinking like, okay, my strings are vibrating, I'm playing a C sharp. It's not that level of intellectualism. That's the journey that we had to go on, or the steps that we had to, you know, walk through in order to get to this moment. The Flying Rainbow Lasagne is an experience. And I'll now describe to you a little bit about my experience doing it. It's literally the easiest, funnest, coolest, best part of my day. I don't say like, oh my God, like I have to do the dishes and I have to do this and that and that and that. I have to go for a long walk and, you know, get some exercise and take care of my dog. And then I have to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. It's like, you know, like a list of things. That it's not like that at all. It's more like, oh man, like I can't wait until I can actually do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, because this is easy and fun and makes sense to me comparatively in a way that the rest of the mundane existence here does not make sense to me. So again, I'm not trying to, so I'm sure if someone might have misinterpreted what I was saying in a previous lesson, but I'm not like some super privileged person in the United States that's like, oh, I actually have to, you know, like do my dishes and scrub. Like I'm very aware that some people poop in an outhouse and don't have running water. It's not about that level of complaint. It is more the question that the way that our domesticated world, the world of domesticated humanity on our planet right now, is set up in a way that is antithetical to our natural way of thinking, way of using our body, and way of letting our creative energy flow. So all of these things that we have to do, even, you know, living in a house and using electric lights, like all of that is very antithetical to our natural way of doing stuff. This dance is completely in alignment with my natural activities and things that I would naturally be doing. So I do all these other things in order to support my existence. However, I do Flying Rainbow Lasagne as my self-expression and reason for being here. I'll also speak a little bit about that. This dance that I do, you know, I'm telling you I'm here and I'm affecting all of the other humans and residents and earthlings on this planet. I didn't come here in order to say like, I want to impose this upon someone else, or I want to force you to do this. The distinction to be made is that this is a form of self-expression. Like if you wake up in the morning, you're like a bird, you sing like a bird, you're like, la, 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 everything is so great. You're not saying like, oh, I'm going to sing so that I really annoy my neighbors upstairs, or so that I really annoy my housemate or whatever. No, like you're just singing the way a bird wakes up in the morning. And that's the difference. When I do this Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I'm dancing for the self-expression, for the joy of being part of this symphony. I'm not saying like, oh, I have to, you know, screw up. I have to stick it to those guys that I'm fighting against. It's not like that type of a thing, because I think everyone here has been inoculated with these ideas of like weaponry and the words of war, and we're in a battle and everything. And, you know, I'm always trying to make it like not like we're in a war, but more like this is painting in a studio. This is painting in a studio. This is my self-expression. It's definitely been interpreted by other beings that are here in this world as an insult or an assault or an affront to them. I've definitely encountered that, because there are a lot of evil monsters that are on this planet right now that are just trying to devour everything. And they're like, that pesky lasagna keeps getting in our way. We hate her. We hate it. Stop it now. I didn't, it's not necessarily my intention. I don't say like, oh, I'm here to fight pesky monsters, even though I do, just by doing this artistic self-expression. But my motivation is different. So it's a big distinction to make, because if you only dance in order to fight evil monsters, then when the evil monsters are gone, then you have no reason to dance. And the evil monsters will say, we exist in order to inspire you to dance and to be your best and to innovate. And like, no, that's not it. They are literally inhibitors. So if you're like a ballerina and you are trying to do your dances and do your twirls, they are like the sandbags tied around your toes that are trying to hold you down. They are not wonderful teachers. They are not didactic. They're not helpful. And they're not an intentional, necessary part of the structure of the cosmos. So those are not your teachers. Those are not helpful, didactic. They are totally obstacles that are here in order to try to prevent this spontaneous self-transformation and self-expression from happening. Because the self-expression, this is how we get to be free. This is what freedom is. So my collective, my cosmic collective of, you know, consciousness that I am connected to, this stellar network, this is basic foundation values. Unconditional love, that means I accept you, who you are and what you are. I accept you. That's who you are. Like, that's who you are. I'm not like trying to pretend you're any way other than what you are. And freedom, which is like you're allowed to do what you want to do, but that doesn't mean like you get to rape and murder and kill other people. That's not that type of thing. So this is my solution through unconditional love and freedom, how to rectify what is going on in this level of reality, which is completely effed up, which is completely wrong, which is completely not according to the music that was intended to be played here. So we're not supposed to have death. We're not supposed to have disease. We're not supposed to have rape and murder and any of the things that are these peripheral experiences that are the stuff that's happening on the membrane of death, as opposed to that central core timeline that is the real you, your true personality characteristics, your true experiences, your true expression in reality. So all of this, I'm telling you, like, we're getting geared up here. All of this is about each one of us achieving states of total freedom. And the effect of achieving total freedom is like, yes, it's a big FU to the controllers, to the evil ones, to the beings that want to keep you enslaved. And also, it's not all about them, because they're going to try to make it all about them. They're very narcissistic. They're like, it's all about me, me, me. They want it to be like, oh, like you came here to Flying Rainbow Lasagne against us. And actually, I came here to Flying Rainbow Lasagne for freedom, for life, for joy, for divinity, for self-expression. And these, occupiers of the interstices, yes, my self-expression is very inconvenient to them. And so that's a good segue into when you start to do Flying Rainbow Lasagne, be prepared for some pushback. And literally the actions of doing these dance movements and everything, there's sometimes I feel resistance. So now I'll get to a little bit more in the description of what the experience actually feels like. So first of all, I've got my lasagna chair set up over here, and I'll tell you all about it. This is flying a starship. This is what I'm teaching everyone here today. So on the plus side, you don't have to go audition to NASA and give them a blood test and see if you've been smoking cannabis and if you're, mentally stable enough to be able to fly off into outer space. Like, no, you don't have to audition in that way. This is a different type of assessment. If you want to fly off on these wings of pure love, you have to do a lot of self-cultivation in order to be able to do this. So, blah, blah, blah. Doing this activity, it's similar to doing the Merkaba. It is an envisionment and a visualization and something that is projected or emanates from within. And it's something that I do 100% of my time, but I'm not always focused on it, just like the Merkaba. So I am always doing this subcellular, vibration and dancing. I'm not always focused on it. That's like the music that I'm always naturally emitting. During a certain part of my day, I sit down in a focused sense in order to actually do this. And that's like saying, like you might always be kind of thinking of songs in your mind or playing, singing with your mind, different songs that you like and you enjoy, but you only, for a certain part of your day, you sit down at the piano and you actually play music or you actually listen to songs that you like. So that's the difference, the distinction between these different levels of Flying Rainbow Lasagne activity. Some of it is, let's say, processing in the background, like it's running like a program in the background, or it's my supra consciousness is running while I am buying toilet paper at the store. But for a certain portion of my day, I sit down and I've set apart a block of time where I'm specifically going to focus on this activity. And when I do that, I get to get out of my ego. And my ego is good. I love my ego. Aurora is great. However, like Aurora has all this level of Aurora I'm concerned with my mundane concerns. I have to buy toilet paper. Very focused on that in this presentation. I have to make sure I have groceries. I have to do my laundry. I have to do all the things that everybody does in this time and place to take care of that, including earning money and paying my bills and all of those things. And even, projects that I do, like my paintings, those are still the things that are important to me. This little slice of who I am at this level. When I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, my umbrella of concern widens. My area of concern widens. And I'm not only caring about and concerned about my little ego, whether I have money and toilet paper and food, and whether I am painting my paintings and doing my projects and doing the things I need to do. I expand and dilate my sense of self to include all of the organisms in the symphony of life. And then when I'm doing my dance, I'm not just dancing for little old me and what is convenient to me. I'm dancing for the entire planetary organism, the entire solar system organism, the entire stellar network. So I need to have toilet paper for my body. But I'm also in a symphony of life dancing with a bunch of trees, and they're like, we don't actually want to be ground up and used for your toilet paper. So then it's not appropriate for me to make that wish. Do you understand? I have to be like, okay. So lately I've been getting bamboo toilet paper. This is like maybe too much information. Hold on. But yes, this is about, I'm using that as an example. We are dancing in respectful partnership with all these other organisms that are here. So it can't just be about what's good for you. If it means that you are going to be, chopping down the tuba section and grinding them up into toilet paper, they're like, no, you need us in the symphony too. So everything needs to be balanced in the correct way. And this is also how you can understand, like, Aurora, how come if you've been here for 18 years and you've been doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, like how come you ain't a billionaire at this point? And the answer is because in order to do that, I would have had to insult a lot of the other band members and screw them up and kill them and kill their habitats. And so I clearly don't want to be a billionaire at the cost of killing the other band members. And the social and economic system here is so out of whack that it creates additional imbalances. If I were to be rewarded at that level, which I'm happy to be rewarded at that level because I do a lot of hard work, but in the present socioeconomic matrix, that means that there would have to be some negative consequence for lots of other people who then don't have what they need. So that's when I do my Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, what I am dancing for is a rectification of the entire social system and economic system and agricultural system, not just for my own personal needs to be fulfilled. So this is a big distinction to make. It's different than when I've spoken about using the Merkaba for manifestation, like the second level of what you can do with the Merkaba. Yeah, you can do wish making, and you might, make a small wish, like I need something for my own life. And there's always consequences. When you get something for yourself, one of the issues is how is it affecting the other beings in the symphony of life? And the real virtuosity of playing in the symphony of life is finding a way for every organism to get what they need. That is big. That means we still get toilet paper, but we don't have to chop down ancient redwood forests in order to do it. And that's the whole idea of bamboo, is that it grows much faster and is much less destructive to be able to use it. Blah, blah, blah. The dance is not about your ego. So that's also why my life is very easy when I go to do my Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance. It's like, imagine like you're wearing like some tight kind of, like these ladies wear like a girdle or whatever. And like, oh my goodness, like you take it off, you're like, just like, oh, that feels so comfortable. That's so wonderful. When I take off the cares and concerns of my ego and I get into this expansive presence, I'm like, oh, that feels so good. That feels so comfortable. And I really would say that is like, our much closer to our true self. However, it's a challenge to stay in that state all the time because you do have to focus on your own cares and your own concerns and keeping your own body alive. So, you understand we're walking in a balanced way here. And that's what this also is about. This is about a balance of your inner realm and the outer realm. So we're talking about a balance between spirit and matter, not a constant bifurcation and tension between these two things. That's what Einstein's equation gave to us. Energy on one side, MC squared on the other side. We've got energy and matter, and they're constantly fighting against each other. And Flying Rainbow Lasagne is what happens when we combine together spirit and matter, or pure energy and matter, or pure consciousness and matter. Matter begins to behave differently, and the entire world becomes, all of the rules of physics change in light of that. And that means that we enter into a world that would be considered a magical world, a world of pure imagination. And that's something that is beyond objective materialism and is beyond science that up to this level. So you have to understand, when you start to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, there will be pushback, I presume, I predict, I felt it, from evil occupiers of the interstices, beings who don't want humans to be free, from the implantation of an objective materialist viewpoint that is skeptical of anything it would consider to be magical. Be like, you can't do that. You're not doing anything. You're just, fantasizing. You're imagining it. It's not real. You have to jump over all these hurdles. You jump over the hurdle that says you're not allowed to. You jump over the hurdle that says you're doing nothing. You jump over the hurdle that says you're doing something, but you're not allowed to. You have to keep jumping over all these hurdles like this horse or whatever. And then eventually you get to the point where you're like cruising. And sometimes the energy of it's just like surfing. Sometimes it's a washing machine. Sometimes it's like the psychic energy is crazy, choppy. It's very difficult to do a nice, smooth Flying Rainbow Lasagna experience. Sometimes the energy is completely smooth and beautiful. So another thing to say about this is that I use music, and I use different music for different psychic weather conditions. There are some days when it's like very choppy. Some days I need like strong, like hard rock or something like that. Some days it's very smooth and peaceful. So I have different songs for different times. I just need to drink a little bit more. And don't worry, I'm going to get into the how-to. I know I'm doing a lot of preparation here. It's a cumulative process, and I've spoken about that at length in preparing you for today, that it's not like you paint a painting all in one day. You paint a painting in traditional oil painting by doing thin layers of paint called glazes and an underpainting, and you let it dry in between. So that is exactly what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. Every time you do it, you do this dance, you are rearranging the Rubik's Cube of reality, and you're rearranging the Rubik's Cube of your DNA. Your DNA is connected to the experience of reality. And you're all in this class, you've been in this class for a long time. My little diagram with the train cars of reality, and you're jumping from train car to train car, and those train cars are like the arrangements of amino acids on your DNA. When you learn to Flying Rainbow Lasagna, you begin to experience time in a non-linear fashion. You all of a sudden get to, instead of walking across the surface of space, time, and consciousness like a little ant that's stuck to it, you can jump off its surface and fly. You can experience time in here. Instead of breakfast, lunch, dinner, you can do breakfast, dinner, lunch from 10,000 years ago, lunch from today, dinner in 10,000 years, dinner today. And you can hop around on the surface of time, or you can stay in one place and you can hop the surface of time closer to you. Be like, oh, here's ancient Rome. I just folded it closer to me. Oh, here's the far distant future. I just folded it closer to me. So this is a transformation of your experience of time. It is a transformation of your genetic behavior. It is a transformation of how you can express possibilities through your body. And this is why I had to get a body in order to do this teaching. Hold on. So you recognize I'm embedded in time right now. We're moving through time, and I'm in a body, and I'm expressing truthfulness through the DNA of my body. I'm playing the guitar in order to, sorry, I'm making noise. In order to do this work, I had to get a guitar, and it ain't that easy to get a guitar, and that's why I'm a walk-in. That's why I had to do it in the circumstances that I did. Okay, so let's get to, let me show you animations. First, the flapping of my moving mouth parts is worth, picture's worth 1,000 words, and the animation is worth 10 million billion words. So first, let's talk about the formation of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and what you are actually going to be envisioning when you begin to do this dance. So the first thing is the creation of that first cone, and it's created by the action of the singularity jumping up this convergence point here, jumping up. That one jump makes that one little petal shape. And then after it jumps up, then it jumps down and it makes this next petal shape. And then after it gets down to the bottom, it jumps up again and it makes the upper petal shape. And you can see it's constantly jumping up and down. And that's how it creates this, image that I'm always holding up. This is the end result of that oscillation up and down. And let's also count. Now I got to rewind. Hold on. I'm going to rewind. How many times does it jump up and down? Let's count it together, everyone. Like count from Sesame Street. 1 jump, 2 jump, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just like being a dancer. Here, I'll count it out for you, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're dancing. You got it? And I like to use some of my songs that inspire me are 4/4 time. It's like rock and roll music for the 8 flanges. So just like I was telling you, Jimi Hendrix did not necessarily, when he was strumming his guitar, think, I'm now playing an A flat, E minor, C sharp. He's not thinking in that way. He's immersed in the music. I want all of us, when we are doing our Flying Rainbow Lasagna dancing, to be immersed in the music. Don't be thinking, oh, down, up, down. You don't have to do the counting, but I'm showing this to you so that you know what is going on. And this is just like if you start out in a dance class and you're learning a waltz or a watusi or whatever. You might count in your head like 2, 2, 1, 2, and your teacher's at the front of the class being like 1, 2, spin and kick, 1, 2, spin and kick. But then once you've got it down, you know how to do it. You don't have to think 1, 2, spin and kick. Now let me show you this other animation that depicts the various different axes where the Flying Rainbow Lasagne is spinning. So you're pretty familiar with me holding this sculpture at this axis, or whatever reference point relative to its environment. So at the same time that we're jumping up and down like this, we're spinning, we're rotating, and this is on a subcellular genetic level, right? We're spinning around, spinning around, spinning around. Those are energy fields that are spinning. And then we can also spin at this orientation. And we don't have to stop this one while we also add in this one. We can spin at 2 different orientations. Then we can spin at another orientation, which would be considered in, out. This is like oscillating in and out. So we started off with a up, down, then a side, side, then an in, out. And then here's the final one. Get ready, class. Over, 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 end over end, end over end, end over end. And we'll go the other direction too. End over end. End over end, end over end. So these are the basic motions that we do on a subcellular genetic level when we are doing this dance known as the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. Hold on, go back to my face. So to clarify once again, so at each time that little singularity is oscillating and jumping up and down, it creates one of these flanges. We can start out with this oscillation at this axis or orientation, jumping up and down, up and down. Then it can go like this, jumping side to side, side to side. Then we can go like this. And the whole time it's rotating, 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 rotating. Then we can do jumping in and out. Oh, look at that. Then what we can do is make the whole thing tumble, end over end like this, end over end like this. I'm going to demonstrate some Flying Rainbow Lasagne dancing for you today. And you will see my hand movements doing some of these movements. You will see my hands mirroring some of these movements. So one of the first things, so first of all, I'll also clarify all of this or contextualize it for you. I have started out my musical training being a keyboardist, so I feel comfortable understanding music in that way. And when I play, literally, here's my little keyboard is right in front of me, here, keyboard right there. Usually when I play music, my right hand is the melody hand and my left hand is the rhythm. And that's how a lot of songs are written. Like you kind of keep the same basic thing going with this left hand that's not moving that fast, and then your right hand does all of the fast movements on the keyboard, creating the melody. Like this keeps the rhythm, this does the melody. So I have found in doing my Flying Rainbow Lasagne movements that I often do the same thing. So I might start off with this hand doing an up down and this hand doing a side side, so these 4 movements, so up down, side side, in, out, you'll see me do that a lot. And then over, end over end, you'll see me do this, which is kind of like touching the upper corner of a screen, end over end, and it's making it go like that. These are like the 4 amino acids, A, C, T, G. We got 4 amino acids, 4 building blocks that make up our entire DNA and organisms and all these different variety of life. These basic movements are like the basic dance movements, the basic DNA. So the oscillation is one basic movement. The rotation is another basic movement. Because think of it this way, you can rotate in this way, you can rotate in this way. And then the oscillations at this orientation, at this orientation, at this orientation, and then going around like this. These are the 4 different movements that this shape can make. And then the music, the artistry, is in the order that you choose to put these movements. So you don't just have to do 8 up and downs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then boringly 8 in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, in fact, the entire impetus, motivation, foundation, hold on, of this dance is unpredictability. It's like jazz. The definition of what jazz is that it is innovative. It's very different than classical music, where you have the score was written by Mozart hundreds of years ago, and it is what it is, and you ain't going to change it. This is, by definition, an innovative dance. So every day I do it differently. And the reason why it is so important to do that is because we are dancing in response to or in healing of this machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, that is an ancient thing, that is what degraded our body systems, that degraded life on this planet, that caused the domestication. We are raising ourselves out of domestication and into our wild, undomesticated form. We are transcending these limitations. The thing that has been limiting us is like a machine intelligence. And machine intelligences thrive on having huge amounts of data, like every single thing that Mozart ever wrote in his whole entire career, and predictability. Like, I have all of the music that's ever been written in my data banks, and I know what's going to happen in the future. That is what we could call it artificial intelligence or machine intelligence, but it's a malevolent, because it's not loving, because it's not allowing us to live our lives well. That's, if you lived in peace and freedom, this would be different. This is not a happy AI intelligence. It's like a thing that is trying to control and diminish and consume natural, creative, divine, connected type of intelligence. It confounds the ancient AI when you do something that is unpredictable. And it doesn't matter if your patterns start out not that complex. Like, if you look at some of my paintings that I started out with here, I'll just show you one very briefly. Here, I'll show you. Go to the share screen. One of my earliest paintings is not very complex. Here, look at this. This is one of the first things that I did in showing these basic patterns. And then here's one that I've done here. This one is way more complex, but it contains some of the same basic patterns, just, repeated and exacerbated and brought to the next level. It doesn't matter if, when you start off doing your Flying Rainbow Lasagne genetic dance, if your patterns are simple, because what you need to do is do innovations, something that's never done before. Every time each one of us, embodied humans, does this Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, it confounds the system that thrives on predictability. You become unpredictable. You become another variable in what becomes a very large array of highly unpredictable variables. So I also have used this. I'll go to your question, SJ. This example or analogy, kombucha. So like, I'm like the mama lasagna, and I'm making baby lasagnas. And this is not to condescend to anyone who's here in this class, and thank you for learning about these ideas. I'm the innovator. I created this. I wrote the song. It's like a song, Stairway to Heaven. I wrote that song. I don't have to be the only person that's ever played this song. I actually encourage and invite other people to take my basic melody and then do a cover. You cover that song, you make it your own. So you can play it with your own instrumentation. You can play it in your own key. You can play it according to your own tempo. You can change the words that, like the way that you express the words and hold the notes. Take the song and make it your own. That's the whole idea. So I'm the original creator of this concept. I'm the innovator, but I'm not the only one that ever is going to do lasagna. So it's just like a kombucha. Kombucha is like this fermented fungi type of drink. And the kombucha, it's a SCOBY. It like kind of like is it's like a fungus that grows on the top of the stuff that you're fermenting, like the liquid. And it starts out little and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it fills up the whole entire vat of what you're fermenting. And then it gets too big for its britches, and it shoots off these little offshoots that are called scobies. And the little SCOBY is like a little baby, and you can take each one of those, pluck it off, and you can put it in its own jar and then start a whole new colony with all of those little babies. You guys are the baby lasagnas. You are the SCOBYs. You are the offshoots that you take the original melody, you take the original concept of doing this, and do it in your own DNA, in your own body, in your own unique way. So this is really big. So each time one of us does this with our DNA, we're shaking up, we're egg beaters of reality, we're shaking up the salad dressing of reality, changing the Rubik's Cube of your own DNA that affects all of the other instruments that are playing in the band. Every time you do it, it's like Homer Simpson pressing the toaster in that episode where he's changing time with the magical time-changing toaster. Every time you do it, it rearranges reality on a fifth dimensional and higher level. This confounds the AI. So this is, I'm telling you guys, what's my motivation? Because I could have been like, I invented the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and it's mine, all mine. I will never share it with you, but maybe for $1 million, but not for any less. Like, that's not what I'm like. Clearly, I'm like, here, have lasagna, have it for free. And the reason why I behave in that way is not because this is worthless. It's actually incredibly precious. It's not a secret. It's a very open secret, or something that I share very, very openly. It's so transformative and revolutionary and profound in its significance. There are a lot of beings that would like to take it and own it all for themselves or limit it or whatever. And the reason why I've got it is because I'm like, have it. Like, if I had a wonderful seed that was if I had a plant that was a healing plant that could heal everybody, and if it made a bunch of seeds, I'd be like, here, have the seeds, take it, grow it in your own garden. I would not be the type of person that's like, I'm going to grow the magical healing plant, and you will all pay me $1 million so I can give it to you in a pill, and you get a bottle of plant, and then you have to still keep on kicking back to me in order to stay alive. Like, I don't do stuff like that. I hope you're getting my value system. And not only do I not do that, but I would consider that to be so very, very boring. Like, I don't want to have to control and operate other people's lives. You do your own thing. So that's what I'm trying to say. When you do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, each person that does it, each organism that does it, becomes the greatest version of what they can be, fulfills their own innate potential of divinity, who you are when you are connected to the divine and totally in tune with all of the other organisms in this symphony of life. I don't pretend to want to or need to define what that is for you. So for me, when I Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I become an artist and a musician and a singer and an athlete, because this is it's a very athletic dance, and I will show you what I'm talking about. I achieve what is the best for me. None of you have to copy what I'm doing. That's what I'm not like any kind of questionable guru or anything like that. Whatever. I've had to learn a lot about that, but no, my motivations are not to own and control other people as pets. No, although if I had some kind of a commune or an ashram, I would just be like, can somebody else please do the dishes for me? Because I got a lot of things to do, and it just takes a lot of time. But that would be my only trespass or whatever request on the people that were in my commune. No, I would never say you have to think like I do, or speak like I do, or believe like I do. No, that's the whole thing. This is supposed to be innovative jazz musicians. Each one is supposed to be unique. So in teaching Flying Rainbow Lasagna to everybody who's here, one of the reasons why I didn't just be like, here's a video of exactly how I do my movements and you do it in exactly my way. It's not supposed to be like that at all. So I will show you some of my movements, and I'll keep that Dropbox link for anyone who wants to watch the workshop that I did over in October. No, you're supposed to develop your own innovative way of doing this. If you become a painter, you got to find your own style. If you're a musician, you find your own genre and your own style of musical expression. You don't copy me. You don't live your life exactly like me. You don't have your unfoldment and proliferation and expression of freedom exactly like me. Not at all. I wouldn't want that. I would consider that to be very boring and horrible. So the little scobies, when you grow up and you have fermented your vat of kombucha, it will look like your own unique creation. It won't look exactly like my stuff at all. And that's how it's supposed to be. So again, I look forward to the innovations that are unexpected, unimaginable to me. That's why all of you guys exist. That's why you're supposed to make your own. So if we're all jazz musicians in a band, I'm like, okay, I'm playing my stuff over here, and I don't want to know what you're going to play. I want to be surprised. I want you to innovate. I want you to come up with something new. I don't want to be like, C sharp, E minor, I'm the megalomaniac telling you all what to do. No, I want you to figure out your own melodies and rhythms and everything and have it all mesh together in a very beautiful way. And at the same time, I recognize that the music that I'm playing with my DNA right now is very, very loud, and a lot of people are hearing it and being influenced by it. So it's a fine line. It's just like being an art teacher. If I'm an art teacher, I want to inspire each one of my students to be able to draw really well and find their own voice and use the colors that they love and paint things that are important to them. I don't want them to say Aurora is a rainbow art teacher, therefore I'll paint rainbow paintings. This will give me an A+. That is not what I want at all. I want everybody to do their own unique self-expression. And I consider it to be like if you're an art teacher or music teacher or a parent or whatever, it's a sacred position to be in where you are trying to help someone else to grow into their greatest version of they can be, not squash them into a little box that is the expectation of who you are or what you think is right, or a little tiny copy of you. Hold on. SJ has a question, says, so the rate of each movement can vary in tempo along with variation. Yes. That's part of the unpredictability factor. So I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? But you can do whatever, 6/5 time. If you can do the dance to Dave Brubeck's Take 5, go do it. Like, it's fantastic. Basically, the more complex your rhythmic patterns can be, the more complex your movements can be, the more complex your thought structures can be, the better. And the real challenge of a virtuoso is you've got these different time signatures. How do you fit things together so that all of these like do-si-doers fit together at the same time? All these musicians and dance partners all fit together, even though they might be going at different and unique patterns. So, okay, so when I do this dance, you'll see me do, some of this basic up, down movement, a side, side movement, an in, out movement, top and bottom, because you can also do swirling up, like you can do end over end, but you can also do like kicking up, like a rocket kicking up. So, sometimes I do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top, 8, bottom. And that's just like a basic, predictable structure. That's not the innovation. The innovation comes in maybe doing like an up, a side, an in, an out, over the top, under the bottom, in, out. Like you do, there's an almost infinite number of combinations that you can do. And then you are also doing this dance in the context of time. Like I said, it's layers of paint. You put on a new layer every time you do the dance. So your body is different every day. Some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. I can't wait to eat a giant breakfast. Some mornings I wake up and I'm like, just a cup of coffee. I'm not that hungry today. The stars are in different positions. The weather is different. Your feelings are different. Your emotions are different. So I listen to different songs, even though I have some songs that are my favorites. I'm like, that really makes me feel like getting going. I have different songs for different moods, and there are different feelings for each day. So even if, like, today is March 20th, the song that I danced to today might be something I danced to last week, but today is a different day. I'm feeling different. I've had a different breakfast. Like, everything is unique from its new, unique perspective. And this is also a great distinction. I have dog hair up my nose, from the way that a lot of traditional occult societies do their casting of magic spells. They are working with recipes that are like what has been established over many hundreds or thousands of years. It's just like memorizing Mozart. We do this on the full moon. We do this on this day. We do this on this day. You wave a magic twig and get Eye of Newt on this day, and that will make this thing happen. And my Flying Rainbow Lasagne approach is a totally different approach to making magic. This is what you guys got to understand. This is a magical activity, and you don't do it from a standing start. You got to run and jump, run up to it in order to get momentum going. It's a magical activity that you perform with your consciousness. Hey, you know something? Playing music, innovating is a magical activity. Making a new artwork is a magical activity. This is just the next logical extension of that magical activity that is, creating something that in a new format that's never been created before. And that's, again, something that the AI, machine intelligence, cannot do, and it wants to. Like if you can't have a baby, but you see like they're pushing the baby stroller, and I want that so much. Like it wants to write a song, it can't do it, doesn't know how. So when I'm making a painting, like I make a complex painting like this, I don't start off with the indelible ink. I don't start off with the paint. I start off with pencil. And if I screw it up, I can erase. So this is a big hand movement that I encourage you to learn, that you will see me make. When I'm doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, this is just like making a painting. And I might be like, oh no, I dropped a piece of paint. It blobbed out. It's not what I wanted it to happen. But what do I do now? That's it. I'll throw away the entire painting. Throw away everything. Throw away the world. No, that's not what I do, clearly. Because I put a lot of money and effort into making this painting panel. And I put a lot of money and effort into making this universe that we could play within. Yeah, so if you are doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne and you're doing a sketch of reality and you screw up, Maybe you think about something that's not what you wanted to manifest, like someone I love is dead in a ditch. Oh no, now that's going to happen. Don't panic, because a big part of art making is erasing. So we're here in the art school of the cosmos, and I'm teaching my students, well, you know, when you're drawing, you do this with your pencil, you do this with your charcoal, and then you squint. Is that right? No, that's not right. Take your eraser and erase it. And the act of erasing is as much a part of the making of the image as the putting down of the colors or the pencil or whatever. So this is, I don't know if you're anybody, you're an artist or whatever like that, but yeah, if you see erasing marks in a painting, that doesn't mean it's ruined. The erasure is part of the mark making. So when I'm doing this dance, oh no, I just thought of something that was an errant thought that I don't want to manifest into reality. Well, one of the things that I do is, this is like an arrangement of these time tendrils, my hands, and then I start to bring them together. And as I'm bringing them together, I'm envisioning the erasure or snipping or rectification of all the things that I don't want to have happen. Because as you're making these different, you know, you could think of it like making music notes, or you know, playing music with my hands, or you're making waveforms. There might be things that are not what you want, either drips of paint that are not what you want, or sounds that are coming out in the recording that are not exactly what you like. And when I do this, first, this is kind of like arranging, like if you're going to break some spaghetti, like you kind of like, or papers, like arrange your paperwork, arrange the tendrils. And then as I'm bringing them together like this, I'm erasing all the stuff that is a mistake. I'm erasing all of the thoughts, the possibilities, the everything. And this is happening on a genetic level. And the action of my hands looks a lot like the image of mitosis. I can show you a picture of that. You know what I'm talking about? The arrangement of the DNA structures in cell division. And I bring them together like that. That is like erasing the stuff that I don't want. And in that moment of coming together, there's also the bouncing back or expansion. There's contraction, expansion, expanding outward from that restful moment of the new thing that starts. And I also consider that to be like a measure break. So if you are familiar with musical notation, we've got the notes on a staff. There's 5 lines on a staff and little red dots that represent different notes. And the staff is subdivided into these measures. And the measures, they're like airlocks. You know, this is what's going on in this little zone, and this is what's going on in this little zone. And there might be different rules for different zones. So when I do these movements, I'm erasing all this. So here's the basics of how I do it. All right. Of course, I do the Merkaba, because that's like saying I am brushing off all the stuff off of my table, clearing the decks, clearing everything out, locking the door so no one else is going to come in. I do DNA encryption, and I'll speak about that too. And then let's say I get going, you know, dance, 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 and then I rearrange those tendrils, and then I bring it together, bring it all together. That's like the first, you know, portion of that song, like the first verse of that song. And then from there, I begin expanding outward again. And that there's like a little rest in there. And then the beginning of the expansion outward again. And sometimes so I know I'm jumping around a lot in this. So when I do the dance, I use both my hands and my feet in order to play the instrument of the cosmos. When I first started, I just focused on my hand movements, because mostly with our neurological wiring in this time and place, we are focused on the tiny muscle movements of our hands and fingers. And mostly we have not been trained or allowed to focus on the tiny muscle movements of our toes. I don't know if I did a pedicure, if my toes are nice and clean, but I'm prepared for showing you what is going on with the toes today. So mostly in the Western world, in industrialized world, we wear shoes all the time, and our shoes are very hard and stiff, and they make everybody's toes get very congested together, and the little pinkies are curled up like little shrimp, and people kind of have flipper feet that don't really like, you know, fully move. So a big part of my preparation to be able to really do this dance was rehabilitating the feet of this body, because the toes used to be very congested together and they couldn't move individually. So I did a lot over many years of foot exercises to expand my toes so they could actually move individually, and also practice moving all the individual muscles of my toes, knuckles of my toes, because sometimes people can flex, so that would be like flexing upward, and they can point, but they cannot move like one toe individually, or move like the smaller knuckles and then the larger knuckles. So it's necessary to use toe dexterity, because, and I spoke about this on one of the previous lessons of this month, we're doing pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. It's a recumbent position is how I usually sit when I'm doing this. And both my hands and my feet are working the levers, pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. So this is big because you are made of DNA. Your DNA is connected to time. You have a time bubble around you that is shaped like this. You're connected to time. When you start to do this dance, what you're doing is playing music in time. You are connecting your body. Your body is your instrument. You're connecting your body to the actual time field. And this is how you make music happen. So this is also how you can understand having a body is crucial for this. There are lots of disembodied people that can't do this. And it doesn't matter how much you don't like your body. It doesn't matter if you're like, I don't like whatever the shape of my teeth, or having stretch marks, or what your butt looks like, or whatever. It doesn't matter because you have a body. You have a body. You have real estate in this realm. So this is a big distinction to make. I know I'm jumping around a lot. I'm very excited. If you want to make changes to the symphony of life, you don't make those changes from being like sitting in the wings. You got to get on stage. That's why I got on stage. I got Flying Rainbow Lasagne portal so I could get a body, so I could play my music with my instrument, with my body. And that's a big challenge. That's the whole point. So there's these pesky occupiers of the interstices, and they're the peanut gallery, and they're not actually on stage. They don't actually have bodies. They should not be and shall not be limiting or influencing or inhibiting your song and your self-expression. You've got the body. Everyone in my class, you can tell who I'm talking to. I'm talking to embodied people that have bodies that you can do stuff with. This is why we have bodies. So this is a total inversion of what society tells you. Society tells you, you are just a small poopy sinner. You're in a body and your skin is kind of greasy and you can't get anything done. You know, the guy upstairs, he can get everything done. This is the complete inversion of what is actually truthful. What's actually truthful is that in this fleshy body, you've got all of these vibrating strings. I made crazy eyes there. Vibrating strings that are your DNA guitar strings. And that is how you make this music that literally is transformative to the entire time field, to the entire structure of time, space, and consciousness. So when we do this Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, we're strumming our genetic guitar. We're sending out this music that then affects reality on every other level. So it's not from the top down. It's not from higher dimensional, less dense realms where everyone is so light and fluffy and they make their music up there and it all calculates down to us and then we experience it down here in reality. No, no. It's the opposite way. We, down here in this level of density where you have to buy toilet paper and things are very difficult and challenging sometimes, we are making the music with our minds and sending out those waveforms of possibility that are then percolating outwards into different levels of reality. That's why it is such a wonderful, empowering, powerful position to be here. And that's also why there are all these lies that are taught to us that say, you are a small, poopy sinner and you can't get anything done and don't even try. That's that whole lie. And so once we begin to do Flying Rainbow Lasagne, you realize, wow, wait a minute. We are actually incredibly powerful embodied beings here, and that's the value of having a body. And the beings that don't have bodies want to hijack your ride. They want to steal your gig. They're like, oh, you got a gig? You have an instrument? You're going to play? Can I play through you? And they'll do all sorts of disingenuous things to lie in order to be like, I'm God. I'm an ascended master. Let me play through you. They'll do all that stuff. So I hope you're getting the impression of how special it is. They're like addicts where they're like, can I have something? Can I have something? Can I play through you? So, because they don't got nothing and we have everything. So again, it's a changing and a rectification of your own assessment of who you are and why you're here and what are the values of what you've got. Joelle says, we should just believe the opposite of everything society tells us. Pretty much, you know, just, oh my goodness, look who just jumps on board. So Cheeky is totally a Flying Rainbow Lasagne dog, and she sometimes sits on my lap. Oh, I need lots of hugs. Thank you, guys. She sometimes sits on my lap when we do the dance, and sometimes if it's too vigorous, she'll jump off because she gets a little bit annoyed. And even though I wear headphones, I can still sometimes tell that my music is too loud for her because she's got a very delicate dog ears and it makes loud noises, and I see her kind of flinch. So sometimes she doesn't stay on my lap for the whole entire Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, but she does her own dance, and that's a big thing I want you all to know. Like, I do this, I'm a human. Microbes in my tummy do this dance. The birds and the trees around me do this dance. My little dog does this dance. This is all about transforming on a genetic level and transforming reality. It's a co-creative experience. We are all creating together. So my dog contributes. Cheeky absolutely contributes to the symphony of life. And, you know, sometimes she dances because she wants to find magical fried wontons and eat them for her own tummy. But she also, like me, we dance for the greater good. And it's not to say that you can't pay yourself. You can pay yourself because you got to eat. You got to have your electrons flowing in a wire. I endorse that. But it's not just about you. It's about everything. So, you know, like, I want my dog to be happy and healthy. I want trees to be happy and healthy. I want gophers to be happy and healthy. But my dog wants to eat gophers. So we have to find some way. I'm tilting closer so I can see. Joelle says, my kitty loves to sit on my lap when I'm sun gazing because I'm usually more still. Yeah, I used to have a feline overlord. My cat boss, who she wouldn't sit on my lap when I did the dance because I was jumping around too much, but she would totally sit with me in the sunshine, gathering energy, and then kind of fly alongside of me. She was always very independent. Yeah, and Joelle goes on to say, animals are telepathic. I bet she learned the FRL stuff from you. Cheeky totally learned FRL from me because my DNA is always vibrating. It's always singing this song. In order for her to even come here and be adopted by me, she had to be a dog who would want to be around the Flying Rainbow Lasagne human and be exposed to all this. And I joked with her, like, if you're going to be on board, if you're going to get this gig, there's going to be a lot of music, there's going to be a lot of dancing and a lot of joyfulness. And actually, you know, Cheeky is very joyful. And I think that's why she's my dog. Like, she's super, you know, happy, joyful, ready to go, you know, like sucking the marrow out of life. And, so, you know, I think she can also tell, like, I'm having a super fun time when I'm doing this dance. It's very fun. It's very free. And I think animals in general can sense when you're doing something where you're like, oh, that seems like fun. Like, I want to be a part of it. So sometimes she will sit underneath my chair. So, okay. And so now let me get into the actual nuts and bolts of how to do this. I have a whole PDF about this. The PDF is written out and analysis from a lovely student of this class whose name is David Lear. He's not tuned in right now. He's actually from several years back. Sending him love and appreciation and thanks, because just like, okay, so I'm like Jimi Hendrix playing my guitar, going wild on stage and talking all about it on these videos. And David was more analytical. He's got a different structure to his mind where he was able to listen and process all the things that I said and then write it out in a recipe. Like, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. That is a challenge for me because I'm so immersed in it. I'm in it. That it's a little bit difficult to be like, well, what exactly am I doing? Like, do I move my pinky like this? Do I move my thing like this? Do I do this like this? So yeah, he wrote a wonderful PDF. So and so I'll include that in the description and I'll send it out to the class, and I'll also share the Dropbox of my example of how to do this dance when I went to the conference in October. So what are the basics of how to do this? The first thing is eat good food. I eat lots of good food. I know that my body is slender. People ask me, are you a vegan? Are you this? Are you that? Like, no, I eat everything. I don't eat sugar because I am controlling epilepsy. And that can be an epilepsy trigger. So I don't eat things that have sugar in it. And that means also like not a lot of bread and pasta and stuff, because that also either has sugar in it or, you know, turns immediately into a sugar once you eat it. Those are my only limitations. Okay. So I eat everything. So I eat a good breakfast in the morning. And also we get some exercise walking around the town. And then I do sun gazing, right? I've done that extensive talking to you about how sun gazing is like for the hybrid vehicle. If you can run on gasoline, but you also can run on electricity. So my food is like my gasoline that goes in my body. And then my sun gazing is like for the solar engine that runs the rest of me. So also when I eat, so I told you I eat limited carbohydrates, but you know, if I'm going to do some kind of big exercise, like walking my dog for many miles or doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, that is the time to eat a freely available carbohydrate. So something like a fruit smoothie or wonderful pieces of fruit, or I make these wonderful good cookies that are sweetened with maple syrup, like eat that. That is time to fuel up. So the first thing is fuel up. Today, I did not have very much sunlight because it's, horrible rainy weather. So, if I'm going to do sun gazing, I might do it sitting inside because it's wet and gross outside. I might put that crystal in my mouth that I charged up on a sunny day. I will do sun gazing. So eat physical food for my physical body. Eat light for my light body. That's like getting my art supplies. Then the next thing is doing the Merkaba. Merkaba is star tetrahedron. It is the protective energetic envelope that we can use to protect ourselves as we travel through time and also to travel through, time, space, and interdimensional realms. And I have a whole lesson all about that. This is, I'm confirming what I've already said to everyone. And when you see me do these movements, one of the movements you'll see me do is like this, which is my little shorthand for doing the Merkaba, where I have triangle that's pointing out from my heart, and that is moving around to this direction. And I have one that's pointing out from behind my back that is moving around to this direction. So when I first started these exercises, I had to sit in a special way and I had to envision it in a special way. Now it's as easy as tying my shoes. Shields up. So eating a bunch of physical food, eating a bunch of light, and then shields up. And the shields up is like preparing my studio. I'm clearing away debris. I'm cleaning up my dirty socks and my coffee cups off the floor. I close the door so that the kids that are outside playing on their skateboards don't wander in and pick up a paintbrush and start painting on a masterpiece. Like, that's the idea. You want to keep out any of these influences that are not virtuosos, the pesky occupiers of the influences, random thoughts that might be coming through your head, and ancestors, your mom, your dad, your third grade teacher, President Trump. Any of these external influences should not be coming out in your painting. And so genetic encryption. How do you genetically encrypt? What the heck is this? I don't even have a recorded lesson that is about this. So this is what I have developed and what I've learned how to describe it to other people. Just like on your computer, most of my computers, you have to open it up with a thumbprint. My thumbprint is unique to me. All of your thumbprints are unique to you. Your DNA is similarly structured, unique to you. That is why you cannot be a copy of me. You cannot just take my things that I do and just try to, just copy and paste it on top of your life. It doesn't work, because you have to figure out the dance movements that are right for your body, the genetic movements that are right for your genetic structure, your mind movements that are right for your consciousness and your equipment and what you've got. So everybody has to figure out their own form of genetic encryption. So what I started to envision was like a series of letters and numbers that is like in a cloud, surrounding me and all on my skin and everything. That's of my choosing. Just like, to get on my computer, I have to type in my little password. I have to put in my thumbprint. Boom, now I'm allowed to go in because I'm really me. So it's like an authentication that only you can come up with. And it can be unique to you. It can be a memory of a place. It can be a smell. It can be something that only you can do. Like, whatever, I don't know. I want to think of some bizarre thing, like whatever, being able to curl your tongue in a particular way, something that only you can do. A movement, like a dance movement or a melody. Come up with your own thing. What I did, because it's so hard to describe this with words, and a lot of my teaching takes place telepathically. Like we have here the online class, but then we have the higher dimensional class where I'm talking to everyone in when I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. You're all there with me. Everybody who's in the higher dimensional class is there with me. And I'm showing you how to do it. So the way that I run my class is by demonstrating it. I do a lot of telling you about it, but then it's kind of like this. Like if Jimi Hendrix is your music teacher, just be like, all right, like, let me just show you this. And then you just kind of get it, right? So a lot of this is immersive. So I'm talking, but understand that a lot of it is the feeling about it and the feeling of being immersed in it. So I recognize that the genetic encryption, I could describe it with my mouth, but it's very different than feeling it and being directly exposed to it. I did a little template, like a little computer program. I'm not a transhumanist. And I put it available for download telepathically in the cloud. Not the physical Dropbox, the non-physical Dropbox of your actual, mind, of the actual connected consciousness that we are a part of. And I said, hey, here's how I do my encryption. I'm not giving you my encryption. I'm showing you this as a template. Take it and run with it and make your own thing and make your own set of ideas. So I will just say it is crucial to do your own encryption because there are all of these malevolent presences that want to come in and hijack your creation. They want to take over your body. They want to take over your mind. They want to take over your mouth when you're saying stuff. They want to take over your sexuality when you are expressing yourself sexually. And this is cosmic lovemaking. This Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance is cosmic lovemaking. So again, this is why I've said, like, I haven't just made a tape of it. I don't want to make a cosmic sex tape. It's not about that. And nothing about this is about sexual objectification. Even though some of the movements that I make, I recognize there's no way to do this modestly. There's no way for me not to be, well, it's like doing yoga. Like sometimes your butt is sticking up in the air. That is part of doing the thing. So this is very similar to yoga in that yoga, if you do it right, is about self-cultivation and the feeling of being in your body, not about whether you look a certain way or whether your butt looks good to the rest of the people in your yoga class. So this is very much about your own personal expression. So, you know, I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration here, but understand that it's not like, this is the answer to why, like, why not just, you know, do a big extravaganza and show it to everybody? Like I would like to do this, you know, in person to people who are respectful and really connected to me on this. Joelle says, I usually don't feel joyful when trying to copy someone else's dance. That is like a perfect understanding of what this is. So don't try to focus on the dance steps. Don't try to copy someone else you think is good. Focus on the feeling of getting into, we could call it states of ecstatic divine union that are inside of you. So also some of my students do this dance without moving their physical body. Karine is a lovely participant in this class. I don't know if she's logged in. She might be watching things after the fact. She told me that she usually sits, you know, cross-legged, does her meditations, and then she does her dancing on a subcellular level. She does not move her body. That's awesome. She figured out what works for her. I figured out what works for me, and I would encourage everybody to do the thing that feels right for them. Gala is another lovely friend and participant in France, and she does hers while she's like at the gym, like on these different elliptical machines or whatever. Do what feels right and works the best for you. That's awesome. Chloe is saying live demo party at Aurora's. I literally, like, I would love to have you guys just come to my home and camp out. I don't have that much space. Camp out. Everybody come and we'll have a campfire and I will show you Flying Rainbow Lasagne. And so I do actually have something planned in early July at the ECT Ranch where I plan to do something very, very similar to that. So on that note, for today, I do want to do some examples of what this actually is. And I'm going to have to move my little dog, but I'm going to show you. So, okay, how do I hold my body? What am I doing with my body? And a big thing on this is also, you don't have to have a perfect body to begin. You don't have to be a perfect person to begin. And that's very big because I think everyone has these expectations of like, oh, you have to be a yoga master. Like you have to be able to do a back bend or some kind of a handstand or something special like that. No. In fact, I will tell you, like I have limitations in my body. I can't do inversions because my brain is very fragile. So I can't do things that are about putting pressure on my brain. And so I bring that up in order that you can understand, like, it doesn't matter if you were in a car accident and you have a delicate spine. Or whatever, like me, you cannot put your head, you know, I can't like do a handstand or whatever, bend over like that. I can't do that. Whatever are your physical limitations, that does not stop you from doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, even to the point where you can have amputations and still do Flying Rainbow Lasagne. You can have neurological difficulties. You can have congenital birth defects. You can still do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne no matter what. So this is a big thing for that. It's not just for people that have a natural or naturally occurring divinely athletic body. Doing the dance heals your body. This is big. So I don't know if it will be like a salamander. If you have amputated a leg, I don't know if your leg will grow back. But let's say that doing this dance allows you to transcend the limitations that might occur due to injuries. So you can still do all the things that you need to do, but you might need some equipment. You might need some prosthetic or whatever. But every time I see, a video or something of someone that's got some major physical challenge, but they're doing their athleticism or their dance or their self-expression anyway, that's lasagna. So an example would be someone who's, paralyzed from the waist down. They're in a wheelchair, but they're doing pull-ups. Like I've seen this guy doing pull-ups with his wheelchair, kind of strapped to him. That is freaking lasagna. It's like saying, I do this, limitations don't stop me. So in my own journey, there's neurological limitations that I came into this body that should have died and should not be able to technically walk around. Like this body would be a body for like a vegetable in bed, a person who's comatose. So clearly I'm walking, talking, doing stuff uh, making artwork and music, my brain and my mind works. And all of that is because of Flying Rainbow Lasagna. All of that, literally, like I'm able to move body parts that I wouldn't have the neurological wiring to be able to connect with if I didn't do the lasagna. So I won't say to someone else, I won't dictate to you what your healing will look like or what is possible, but I will just say that it is possible. So don't think like, oh, I'd love to fly rainbow lasagna, but I can't because I'm in a wheelchair, or I can't because I've got MS, or I can't because I've got whatever, or I can't because of any of these things that have happened to me. You can, I do, and doing this allows you to jump up and over obstacles. It allows you to rearrange what is considered possible in reality. So again, if you have had an amputation, it would be wonderful to grow a limb again, like a salamander. It might not take that look. It might be like getting a super awesome prosthesis. Instead, that allows you to run and do all the things you need to do. Stacy says, does it help if you set the intention for a certain healing, or does it just naturally restore balance where it's needed? Good question, and thank you for that. You can do an intentional healing if you want to, but also understand that it just happens as a naturally byproduct of doing the dance and getting into these states of ecstasy. So, and so here are some of the ways that you can use this for healing. I know one person who had a birth trauma, and she said, well, how can I FRL? She had like a facial paralysis from birth trauma from, 40 years ago. And I said, you can Flying Rainbow Lasagna with a version of yourself on a neighboring timeline that got born in a different way that didn't cause that paralysis. So you can be like, okay, you've got this song that I need to learn for my, for my own particular symphony over here. I'm going to learn that song from you, a version of you that is on a different timeline. You can also get songs and inspiration from versions of you that are in the future. So you might reach forward to the version of yourself that has already transcended whatever difficulty you're facing. If it's a pathological disease, be like, find the version of you that already created those antibodies. Get those antibodies from the future and Flying Rainbow Lasagna them into your present. Or you can get those antibodies from someone who's not you. You could be like, I got this cough. I got this cough. I need to find out what's the antibodies. Find someone who has already transcended that pathogen. Flying Rainbow Lasagna with them. Get the healing for those pathogens. And so many other ways that it can be used for healing too. Like so this is just thinking, but blah, blah. There are many different ways and many different creative interpretations that you can use for using the Flying Rainbow Lasagna for your own personal healing. So you can sit down and you can say, today I'm going to do this dance with the intention of healing, but you don't have to. You can sit down and you can say, today I'm going to do this dance. I'm going to be super joyful. I'm going to get into these levels of divine ecstasy, knowing that that's going to be the end result, that your body will be healed and improved. You will move towards greater levels of athleticism. You will move towards greater levels of being connected to the divine and getting ideas and energy and inspiration from the higher dimensional, less dense realms. You'll get more ideas for your writing and music and art, for your own personal expression. You know that will all come to you as an end result of doing this dance. So, encryption is very big so that no one hijacks your creation. And attitude is another one. That have a little bit of a saucy attitude or a little bit of a rock and roll attitude, because a lot of this is, moving into levels of profound freedom. And we've been limited for a very long time, by this machine intelligence, by the overlords of humanity, by the pesky occupiers of the interstices. And when you start to get going with Flying Rainbow Lasagna, those limiting factors will all come up and they will say, stop, wait, don't do what you're doing, because they want to keep you limited. They want to prevent you from being fully empowered. So the most revolutionary thing that you can do is to be like, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to forge ahead and do this thing. So don't be inhibited by the various things that might come up that basically say, like, who do you think you are? You think you're God, you think you're this, you think you're that, you ain't allowed to do this. You have to be like, yes, I do think that I'm God. And yes, I am going to do this. And yes, I am. Or like, rock and roll. When you're rock and roll, you're like, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or, I'm going to do it even though the man doesn't like it. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you will not get, this is not the act of a domesticated dog where you're like getting patted on the head, like, good dog, you did lasagna. No, you might start to do lasagna and you might find that your religious programming comes up and says, that's not allowed, or your mommy or your daddy inside of you, because you're changing your DNA. And your mommy and your daddy are inside of you as very strong genetic influences on your body. And when you start to change, they might be like, Don't you want to be part of our ancestors? Don't you want to be part of our family? Who do you think you are to be different than us? Don't you want to have the family nose and the family disease and the family this and the family that? And you, the family demons, like alcoholism? And you can say, no, actually, no, thank you. I don't really want those things inside of me. And if your family really loves you, they don't want you to carry on the family demons or the family diseases or the family whatevers. Like, that's not how you define the family. And also you want the next generation to be better, not to be worse. Okay, so you fuel up with food and sunlight. Do the Merkaba for protection. Do encryption on your body. And I refresh my encryption, just like I change my password on Facebook or whatever. If someone's trying to jiggle the lock, I'm like, oh, someone's trying to break in, change the password, change it up. And then I put on awesome music. So I have playlists I could share or whatever. I like various different things that different songs for different times inspire me. And then what do I do? So, okay, I want to tell you on the topic of physical limitations. I'll show you all the modified ways that you can do this dance. So sometimes, and also, blah, blah, I don't use equipment. I mean, I'll show you my chair over here. I got a chair. But other than that, this is not about having special or fancy equipment. And I spoke about that in this semester on a different lesson. There are a lot of esoteric societies and military intelligences, all these different whatever super soldier programs, and they're trying to get their super soldiers to dance like Flying Rainbow Lasagne, to rearrange reality, to do these amazing genetic maneuvers. But they have like all sorts of scuba gear and flotation tanks and injections and everything like that. It's totally cumbersome is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to characterize this to you. Like, we in this class, we are like natural runners. Like, you don't even really need a pair of shoes. You can run barefoot. You can run wearing a pair of little sandals. This is what, these ancient tribes would do. And there are still some modern people that do this. You don't need fancy Nike sneakers. You don't need a fancy sports bra. Just put on your sandals. Just run, okay? That's what I'm telling you. You just put on your sandals and you do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne. You don't need to have a lot of special equipment like these various different programs that are out there, or esoteric societies, and you must stand under a full moon and you must shake a twig and you must do these things. No, not like that at all. So again, this is a superseding these old magical traditions that will tell you you must on the full moon, carrying this twig, holding a gem, and eating an eye of newt. Like, that's an old recipe. And that's why this is so threatening to those secret societies. They only know how to make the strudel or the apple turnovers according to a very particular recipe. They cannot innovate. They don't know how to jazz. And what we're doing is complete jazz. So what is happening right now is birth of a new dimension. We are literally giving birth to a new level of reality, mind-created realms, forging ahead, breaking new ground, doing things that have never been done before. These secret societies, even supposedly good ones, that are using magic, they have recipes that are made for, they don't have a recipe for this. They only have recipes that are from what they're familiar with. They don't have a recipe for the time of total innovation, the world of pure imagination. So when we get into that realm, innovators are totally comfortable. If you plop me down in the world of pure imagination, I'd be like, oh, that's great. I'm ready to innovate. Like, show me some paints. I'm ready to go. Let's make some music. I'm not like, oh no, I'm here in the world of pure imagination, total potential. I don't know what to do because I don't have, any of my data banks of everything that has come before, and I don't know what to do in this time and place. So this is what this is. It's a total time of total innovation where it's actually not helpful for you to try to use the patterns of the past. So when I do this dance, you can do it sitting in a chair. I'll show you sitting in a chair. You can do it sitting on the ground. Sometimes I sit on a little cushion because it's more comfy. You can do it sitting in my little chair that I got from Bed Bath & Beyond. And let me just also say, I'll lean aside, you can see, there's this awesome, can you see it back here? So it's this, lawn chair, and the canvas broke because I had it for many years, and I do the dance and I'm very vigorous. And broke the chair with my butt. And then what a lovely participant in this class, her name is Tiffany. I don't know if she's logged in right now, but I hope she sees this because I appreciate her so much. She did with the industrial sewing machine, she fixed it all up. She did a whole new thing, and she did all of the proportions right. So there's lots and lots of red at the bottom, up to a tiny little amount of violet at the top. And she actually worked on the proportions with math in order to be able to do that perfectly, the inches and everything like that. So that's the level of technology that I have. I have a custom made rainbow armchair, but other than that, you don't have to have that. And that's pretty crucial, because when it's time to innovate, you have to just be able to do it. You can't be like, oh, wait. First I have to get into a sensory deprivation tank, then I have to take whatever magical drugs, and then I have to wait several hours, and then I'm ready to do this. Like, it's not like that. You should be able to do it just wearing your regular street clothes, sitting in an armchair from Bed Bath & Beyond after having, had a nice little granola snack. Okay, so let me also, okay, well, good. Let's get into some examples. Cheeky girl, you got to get on up because I can show everyone what's going on. Oh, can you get on up over here? Get on up over here. Thank you. Okay, great. So also, let me move things around a little bit. So one of the first things is, I told you I dance with my hands and with my feet. Here, let me make some, oh, that's a cheeky chew toy. Here, we're getting all ready. Also, yes, this is my full lasagna outfit for dancing. You don't have to wear special pants to dance like a lasagna, but you can if you want to. Yeah, look, Cheeky's down here. Look, I'm going to point this down so you can kind of see us better. Cheeky's totally ready. Here, let's get some light on us down here. Get some light so that you can see what we're doing. So, okay, first I'll show you sitting on a cushion. Here's a little cushion that I use. Can you guys see me okay? I know, look at this, Cheeky's jumping up, Cheeky's jumping up, okay? So when I start off and I'm sitting on a cushion like this, I might sit with my, with my lap like this. But hey, if you have spinal or whatever hip limitations, if you can't do that comfortably, you don't have to do it in that way, yeah. And so I'll start off with Merkaba like this. And then, so I don't know if you can see, let me tilt this down so you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, good. I work the pedals with my feet as much as I work them with my hands. Again, move this so you can see me. So, you'll see me do a lot of movements like this and like this. I want you all to envision that you are sitting in the control cockpit, the booth of an actual starship. And I say often I am dancing like a flying rainbow lasagna, but you can also rearrange those words to say dancing the flying rainbow lasagna. Like the flying rainbow lasagna is your spaceship, and you fly your spaceship by dancing. This is what I want everyone to know. Like, these clank metal spaceships that are flying through the sky, they are so boring and lame. They don't have to dance. They just or like Captain Kirk is whatever standing on the bridge of the starship. That is not how experts do star travel. The expert pilot is dancing. In order to get through the fabric of time, space, and consciousness, you have to dance. Do you understand? You have to be part of the symphony of life. You have to be making music. You have to be dancing. Cheeky's playing with her little toy over there. I'm just getting her. Oh, there you go. So she won't be too she likes, we won't get into it. She likes to play with her little toy. She likes it when she has an audience too. Okay. So I start off, and wait, I don't know if you can see this too. This is my feet doing that movement. So I told you that you'll see me do all these different things with my hands, and then you'll see me bring my hands together like this. This is like making that measure break. That's also like an energetic firewall. So that you're like making stuff happen. And here's erasing the stuff I don't want. Here's a measure break. And then that area of the musical score is locked in, so that I don't have to think, oh, now that might get changed. Now that might get mushed. It's kind of like if you ever work with Photoshop, you can do layers on Photoshop, and you can lock a layer so that you're like, okay, I know that all looks the way I want it to look. Hold that where it is and don't change it. Honey, maybe you could just do this somewhere else, not on camera in front of everyone. Thank you very much. Sorry. Okay. All right. Go play with that somewhere else. Here, yeah, really. Okay, we're doing Flying Rainbow Lasagne. Go play with that somewhere else. Okay, good. She's like, what's going on? I'm sorry. All right. And yes, yeah, so this is not that type of a dance. It's not that. Cheeky's like twerking. This is not that type of a dance. This is a different type of dance. Thank you for understanding. I can't read the chat right now. I'm sure you guys are all joking about this. So, when I do dance, erase, bring it together, boom, I have now erased the stuff that I don't want to have happen in reality, brought that moment to a close. Just got to do that on camera. And we really can't have this. I'm sorry, guys. It's so difficult to concentrate when someone is doing this over here. Here. You just really need to go and play with that in the other area of the house. There you go. Over there. Do it. over there. Go play with that over there. Okay, there, right there. That's the spot. When I bring my feet together, I'm doing that with my feet. Okay, this is all of this in order to try to get that out. She's just going to bring it over here. Sorry, guys. We'll just keep on focusing. Working with my feet frees up my hands, because again, I said usually what I do is melody with this hand and rhythm with this hand, but and for years I did the dance just with my hands, and because I needed to move someplace a lot warmer, because that way my feet didn't have to always be wearing shoes and socks. At this point, I'm just going to tell you, like, I can barely bear to have to wear shoes and socks. I've turned into such a Sasquatch that I want to have to just be warm all the time and do this. And a big part of it is being able to spread my toes apart effectively and really feel that my feet have become a lot more sensitive. So that's a big part of it. We're in this industrialized world where we mostly have had to wear shoes our whole life, and our feet get desensitized, and we're not even supposed to feel things with our feet. And all of this has made my feet a lot more sensitive. And I don't know if you can see that while I do these wide spread apart and then back together, wide spread apart and back together, and also practicing bending, kind of like, prehensile, so that you can grab things with your toes and with your feet, because doing that then frees up my hands. So let's say I'm even about to start. You can tell that I do all of this just very reflexively, intuitively. It's hard to even put into words. So when I'm starting off, I'm doing my feet like this, because that's actually, I'm starting off like, oh, a measure break. But because I do it with my feet, it leaves my hands free to do my thing, all right? So now you're starting to get it. So, I start off with Merkaba, like a thing like this, and then I might get going like this. Okay, look at what I just did. So I leaned back, because I'm usually recumbent. I'll show you in my chair, and I'm doing toe touching here. So that's another like measure break. And I've got, this hand is for lateral movement, and this hand is for vertical movement. So one of the things I want to get across to you in this is that my body is my starship, and I have a non-physical energy presence that must attach to my body, and there are 5 points of contact. Hand, foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are my 5, like a starfish. You have these 5 points of contact. And so what matters is focusing on the movements of your head, your facial expressions, your mouth. Remember, I'm putting my tongue on the top of my roof of my mouth to make that complete circuit, and the movements of my fingers and toes. So the movements of my fingers and toes matters a lot more than, let's say, the movement of my shoulder muscles or my butt muscles or my back muscles. That it's like playing the piano. These are the interfaces, and the interfaces also include the movements of your head and skull. And what I am doing when I sometimes, in order to do this dance, what's the word? The normal way of the way that this is done, like you get into your body like a hand goes into a glove and you stay in your body. I don't do that. I jump in my body and I jump out of my body. I jump in and out of my body 1,000,000 times in 1 second. That's what Flying Rainbow Lasagne is. So this is breaking the rules a little bit. Again, innovating, confounding the system with so many variables. So when I am doing this dance, if you see me start to lean back and lift up one leg, that means this foot is still connected to the body, but I got 1 foot. 1 foot ain't even in the body. 1 foot ain't even in reality. I'm hopping in and out of reality with this foot, and I do that with my hands too, and I do that with my head too. So I will begin with Merkaba. Oh, I'm doing the Merkaba. I'm touching my feet together. That's like a measure break, and this frees up my hands to be able to do the things that I'm doing. So here I am kind of like reaching back. Ooh, I'm reaching back. I'm actually, when I do this, I'm reaching into time. I am reaching into time, but it could be the past, it could be the future. I'm grabbing time tendrils. Here I'm touching my toes together, making a measure break. Here I am touching another part of time. Here I'm bringing them back together, and woo, I'm making a measure break. I'm bringing it together down here like this. I'm Harlem Globetrotters. What I just showed you was like the Harlem Globetrotters. They don't just dribble the ball like a regular player. They're going down the court and they shoot and they make a conventional basket. That's not how they do it. Oh, no. You guys stop. No. They do like a pass around the back. No. Stop. Here, go play. They do a pass around the back. And then, they might do underneath their knee and then double dribble and then do a shot. Oh, but you gotta quiet down. Here, play with this toy. This is a good toy. There you go. So when I'm doing this, these movements are meant to be unexpected. That's what the Harlem Globetrotters do. That's how they confound their opponents, because they're not just playing a conventional game. They are doing things that they don't break the rules, but they kind of bend the rules. They're trick shots. So you guys got to understand when I'm doing this, I'm like Jimi Hendrix. I'm doing lots of trick shots. You don't have to do trick shots, but you can. But you can start off just playing the conventional game, and you can, learn how to innovate and do these different things. So the conventional game would be like, you're in your body, you stay in your body. But what I do is hop in and out of my body as a way of gathering more freedom, more additional degrees of freedom as I'm moving through time. So sometimes I move my legs like this and I sit like this, but I'm still working the pedals with my feet like this and like this, as I'm working my hands like this and like this. You'll sometimes see me bend back like this, and what I'm using my inner eye, but you'll also see my physical eyes look upward and track backwards. So another big thing to understand is I'm actually seeing stuff as I'm doing these motions, as I'm doing this dance. Okay, that's enough. Sorry. Okay, I know, it's a lot to get through, sorry. And I'm so sorry that she was like getting busy with her toy right in the middle of class. Enough. When I do this dance, a lot of the time I have my physical eyes closed. I see a whole world of color, line, shape, and form while I'm doing the dance. It's like a virtual reality. Cheeky, that's enough. There's like a whole virtual reality that I'm connected to. And it looks like the paintings that I paint. Don't be concerned if you cannot perceive it from the beginning. As just like your body heals, the more that you do this dance, your senses come online. So at first, you're like, Aurora, how do I even start? At first, just start with the basic beat. If you can hear the beat, then you can bop along with the beat. That's it. That's how you start. How do you start to learn to dance? Just bop along with the beat. Just do a basic up, down. So this is also, how do I get going with the rest of the symphony of life? So I sit down, do my Merkaba, right? I'm getting ready. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll set up the microbes, or I'll set up the birds, or I'll set up the crickets. To be like, okay, you guys just hold down the beat. You just do the up, down, up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And sometimes I'll get the rest of the band going, and then I will John Coltrane innovate all around in wild combinations of things that are going on. But at this point, sometimes I just do my innovations because everybody it's a lot faster and easier for me just to do it. Like, just let me do my thing, and then you'll kind of like get it just by watching me do my thing. So sometimes I do that too. But all of this is done in conjunction with the rest of the organisms that are there. So you can see this. This is me with no equipment. You can do it sitting on a towel. You could do it sitting on a cushion. It doesn't have to be a fancy anything. And so sometimes also you'll see me go backwards like this, where I'm literally like doing a backflip, like a big giant jet plane that can go around in a big barrel loop. And you'll see my physical eyes looking upward like that, but I'm also looking with my inner eye. I could close my physical eyes and I could still see where I'm going and what I'm doing. I go around in a big loop, and then I combine again, and then I'll do this because I'm doing a lot of, so I'll do them together at the same time. And sometimes you'll also see me working the pedals like this, and sometimes they'll be going kind of backwards. Sometimes I'll do time like this, where I'm kind of like time forward, time backwards. Time moves forward, time moves backwards. Time moves forward, time moves backwards. Like, I can do that as many times as I need to. And so you just saw that too. What did I just do? I just did boom, I'm closing things up, and then Merkaba back around like this, okay? And this is just sitting on the floor like this. Let me show you now in a chair. And like I said, like, this is not a sex tape. Don't sexualize me. That's not what this is about. There's not a good way for me to sit without appearing immodest. Here is sitting in a chair. So let's say, okay, like your spine or your legs or whatever is not that mobile. It's not that easy to, I can just make you to see what I'm doing here. So here, I'll do it kind of on the side too. This is if I were to do it sitting in a chair. So you can't see my feet, but my feet are working. You can see my feet if I go down like this. No, you can't see my feet down there. My feet are working the pedals, and I'm sitting here and I'm doing this like this. So this would be, I just put my feet together like this, toes are touching. Here's my Merkaba. Oh, my feet are sticking out front of me now. Here I'm doing some of this pushing and pulling of the levers. Okay, sometimes I do this. You'll see me do this too, which is these very small shaking movements are sympathetic vibration. Sympathetic vibration, everybody. Where I am, that's so loud. It's so very loud. Let's get it in the right spot. Where I am sending out my own music, knowing that I'm affecting all the other metronomes or vibrating strings of the people that are around me, not just in my physical location, but throughout time, space, and consciousness. I'm affecting everybody else. So this is understanding, like, as I might be dancing here, I'm connecting to all of these other people. It's kind of like playing a chord. Like, I'm not just playing one note at one time. I'm playing all of these different octaves at one time. So I'm playing through many lifetimes. Now, so, you know, all of those things. And of course, if I needed to go backwards, I would go backwards like this. And you can also tell. Can you tell? Can you see? If I go backwards, look, I'm starting out in a contraction with my shoulders rounded like this. And I'm bringing in my abs contracted and in. But then as I go outward, look, into an expansion. Look at how my spine goes from being shaped like a C to being shaped like the opposite of a C, like this. And all of these parts open up and I go backwards like this. And then bring it all around into the front again. Again, please don't look at my underpants that are showing. And let me go to the other chair over here. This is how I usually do my dance. In this lovely chair right here. So once again, the lovely job that Tiffany did with getting all of my everythings in there. So I really like to use this chair because when I do things just right, you can kind of lean back like this. Look at how we're leaned back like this. Oh, someone wants to be part of it all. Come on up, be a part of it all. Be a part of it. She's like, this is just like what we do every day. You guys get an idea. You get an idea of how this goes, right? And usually we're outside, and usually we do sun gazing, and Chiki's with me, and she hunts a little gopher outside. Let me also say this. So let's say you got a little dog, or you get a kid, or whatever, and they're doing the lasagna with you, but they're like interrupting you because they're hunting a gopher, and they're jumping on your lap, and they're jumping off your lap, and then they want a toy, or they want this, or they want juice, or whatever. None of that is a distraction. All of that is part of the dance because they are part of the symphony of life. So I want you to know that you can do this even if you have familial responsibilities. If your dog interrupts you, sometimes Chiki barks at someone else in the middle of the dance and I have to take out my headphones and say, hey, what's going on? Let's quiet down out here. None of that is an interruption. I want you to know that you're not going to be like dancing in the cosmos and then be like, oh, you were so close to enlightenment, but then your dog jumped on your lap and then, oh, you're just going to have to toil away for 10,000 years in hell. No, it's not like that at all. They are our helpers in every way. Your family members, your dogs, your cats, your children, all of these things, like they're part of the dance. I used to be very frustrated though when I had a landlord that would interrupt me right in the middle of doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance, like knocking on my door or whatever. So I wasn't that philosophical about him, but I'm way more philosophical about my dog. So I just want you to know that it does not ruin. I just want to give you permission. Don't feel like your dance is ruined. Like, oh no, I had to drink a glass of water. Oh, my dance is ruined. In fact, what you will find when you see me doing this dance, blah, 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 dance, sometimes you'll see me do this, like press in the middle of the screen. That's how I press pause. Sometimes I need to press pause on the entire cosmic symphony because I need to get a drink of water, or I need to whatever, I need to blow my nose. All of those things are allowed. I want you to know that it's not the type of thing where it's like, oh no, your underpants showed while you were on stage and now no enlightenment for you. It's not like that. So just all of this is about creative self-expression and doing it in a way that is joyous and comfortable. So a big part of all the things that I do are ways of keeping my body comfortable when I do this. So yeah, I always have a glass of water by my side. I usually wear these comfortable type of, like exercise clothing. I was very happy when yoga pants became a style because then I could just wear yoga pants and do my dance during the day. And it's not like, it's a little bit hard to do if you're wearing something more constrictive, like, denim pants or something like that. wear clothing that's comfortable. And another thing is my feet and my toes. So, you know, if I have to wear shoes, if it's cold outside, I got some of those socks that have little 5 individual toes for my socks. That kind of helps. So what I really like about this chair is that you can kind of like start out in this seated position like this. I just did my toes together. And then as I get going, I lean back and I'm now in my starship. Chiki's getting so excited. I'm dancing. And so, okay, I don't know if you can see my toes. I got one lever, another lever. This one I'm kind of pulling back a little bit on. I'm flexing. When I'm flexing, I'm sometimes using the back of my heel to kind of like pull. Chiki, give me kisses. Kind of like those aerialists. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Those aerialists. Sorry, no distractions. Come on, girl. We gotta do this. We're gonna do the work. And those aerialists are like on a trapeze, and they might be holding on to a different thing, like a hoop or something like that, with their heel, like hooked on the back of their heel. So I do a lot of stuff where I'm hooking. I can't even do my work here, boss. You're kissing me so much. Sorry, guys. Just very excited here. Okay, yeah, hook the back of my heel on. These are on energy, lines of energy that I'm feeling in the cosmos. So I spoke to you about how as you're doing your various dances and growing your higher dimensional faculties, your visuals will come online, your auditories will come online, your tactile sensations will come online. So my tactile, so I feel like I'm in a virtual reality. I'm watching things that are going on. I can see colors. It feels to me like there are different things that are coming at me. So sometimes I need to block something away. Let's talk about this. Distractors. Sometimes I'm dancing and I literally see a piece of energy that is coming at me, and it's a malevolent piece of energy. And it might be a thought form that might be something like, you're bad and wrong and guilty and shameful, or here's a task like, oh, you didn't do the dishes, or you didn't do this thing that you have to do, like an errant thought. I see it coming at me. And I'm like, oh, that thing is trying to F up my dance. So what I will do as I'm in the middle of my dance is I'll grasp that thing and kind of toss it aside. You'll sometimes see me make these motions where I'm grasping, kind of tossing it to the side. And a lot of the things that come at me as a type of distractor are things that try to get me back into my ego. So it might be something where it's like saying either you're so great or you're so horrible, or you have to do this chore. I'm getting into ecstatic higher dimensional states, and it's trying to bring me back into mundane aurora cares and sensibilities. So again, I let all of those things go. When I see them coming, I grasp them and kind of toss them away. So what are some of the other movements that I do? So I'm doing, movements like this, but a lot of it is fast. A lot of it is very fast. I do a lot of this, which is, so when I'm doing this, and I don't know if you can see at the same time, I'm doing this with my hands, I'm doing this with my feet. So this is just like if you're flying a plane and you have pedals that you work with your feet that are kind of controlling your elevation. And sometimes as I'm doing this, I do here. So here I'm getting this, feet together, I'm going backwards like this, and I'm back into doing this, putting the hand motions together, because remember I'm erasing, but look what my feet are doing. My pedals are arranging my lift, because I want to make sure that my hands meet up together. So you don't want it to be like this, like here's them, here they are not meeting up, right? Where look, those two things don't meet up together. So in order for these two things to meet up together perfectly, sometimes I need to shift the pedals with my feet and with my toes, shift the pedals with my toes as I'm bringing them together. And again, none of this is an intellectual exercise. I'm not like Jimi Hendrix saying, A minor, F sharp, now it is time for this. All of this is done in a very a level of direct intuitive calculation, just like the calculations that are done by a basketball player or a tennis pro about where is the ball in space and where the other players on the field. Those are the levels of calculation. So I'm seeing and sensing energy coming at me. I'm feeling the energy coming at me. I have to respond to these different levels of energy. And at the same time, I am innovating. I'm sending out my energy. And all of this is a feeling. So when I'm doing the dance, I'm not like, oh, I hope I look good. I hope my hair looks good. I hope I look very attractive and that someone will want to make me their girl. I'm going to be a girlfriend. Someone would like me. It's not like that at all. It is more a sense of like, I know I'm doing it right when I feel it. And it's just like, you know, if you're eating food and it goes in your tummy, you're like, that feels so good. Or if you're a musician and you're grooving, if you're in the group, you're like, that feels so good. So yeah, at this point, we're a band and we're a very tight band. And when I'm going and I'm doing my thing and all the other musicians are doing their thing, I'm like, yeah, this feels so good. This feels so good. So one of the things that I notice in my expression, in my body movements, is usually my abs are engaged. It's kind of like doing Pilates or another floor exercise. Like right now, my abs are engaged. Here, I'm touching my toes together. I'm ready to reach this back into time. And I'm also reaching with this into time, following back into here. I'm grabbing time behind me. I'm lifting up this is not a modest position, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm bringing this back around in front of me. I'm making time meet underneath here while I'm lifting my aileron with my pedal with my foot. I'm erasing stuff. This is touching, this foot up here is literally grasping the sun in the sky, and my hands are moving apart in this direction. As I'm moving apart in this direction, we're expanding into the next measure, and you can see I'm using this pedal in order to lift, and we're going backwards, arching my back as much far backwards as I can, engaging my abs again, and I'm bringing time together. I'm bringing time together like this. I'm making it come together. I'm erasing stuff that I don't want. So that's just a very brief example of the type of movements that I make. Sometimes, and I know I got someone on board here. Sometimes I also feel like, I'm in a recumbent position here where I'm like in a type of bicycle that you can ride lying down. I just need to collect my thoughts of where I was going. Sometimes I feel like I'm going feet first. Sometimes I feel like I'm going head first. That's another thing. So that depends. Sometimes I'm tumbling end over end, like I showed you with the lasagna. One of the movements that you can make is that end over end. So sometimes I'm tumbling end over end as I'm doing these various different movements. Sometimes I am spiraling, like imagine that I'm spiraling into, so I might be diving forward through time and I'm also spiraling. Sometimes I'm diving backwards through time and I'm also spiraling. Sometimes I do that thing where I'm forwards in time, backwards in time, forwards, backwards, like kind of like one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back. It's also my hands. What are my hands doing? So just show you what my hands are doing. My toes are coming together, and if you can see that. So here's a hand going fast with left hand doing rhythm. And you might often see me make this movement with my left hand. This is all connecting to the time field. These hand movements are all dictated by the music that I'm making and the stuff that I am actually connecting to. And so it's very, very weird for me to be narrating while I'm doing this. You don't usually narrate. It's like if I'm painting a painting, I don't usually say to everyone, I'm now drawing this little red thing here, and now I'm drawing this little blue thing here. Like, that's not how a painting happens. So this is not me doing my actual dance. This is me kind of like imagining it and then narrating what it kind of feels like to me. How do you know when you're doing it right? You know you're doing it right when you feel like you are in this state of, you can call it ecstasy or elevated inner experience. I'm not in my usual mundane aurora personality and emotional experience, even though I'm usually pretty uplifted. I'm usually in my daily waking consciousness pretty, positive and happy and joyful. However, I still have moments of agitation, unrest, feeling annoyance, and other things like that, just as part of life. When I'm doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I feel like ecstatic. I feel like, oh, like screw that. Like any little things that bothered me during the day, I'm like, forget about that. And it tries to come into, and I'm like, to grasp and smush, smush that away. It's a very joyful thing. Like I tell you, it is the easiest, most satisfying, fun part of my day. It is totally not a chore. It is something that I look forward to. And it's very athletic. The way that I perform it, it is a very athletic experience. So, you know, my muscles and my physical structure and everything at this point, I maintain it and grow it by doing this dance. I don't really do that much other supplemental exercise, but I do a lot of mileage walking around town with her. So I do a lot of walking and cardio for my little dog here. But I'm going to talk about like strength training and other thing like that. I feel like all of the strength training that I have done has been leading me up to being able to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, just like training for a marathon. You do all sorts of exercise and you do all sorts of stuff. That is preparation and muscle building for being able to do the thing that actually gets you moving where you want to go. So I used to do like, you know, things like push-ups and sit-ups and things like that. And that was part of my body cultivation to get to this point. And now I find that doing this dance every day really maintains my body and even brings me to greater levels of fitness. So it is a very active dance. It's a lot easier for me to do my dance on days when it is warm and sunny out, because this to me feels very much like combustion. When you try to light something, try to light a match that's damp or try to light something that is not damp, it takes so much more energy to get the wood dried out and actually get the fire started. That's what it feels like to me trying to do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne on a day when it's very cold and rainy and dank outside. And so it was very challenging to me when I lived in Humboldt, in Northern California. It's cold, dank, and rainy there almost every day. So it was a real challenge to do it. And so I moved to Southern California. So much easier, like night and day. The flying conditions here are a lot easier for me. So I'm telling you all this so that you understand, like if you're trying to get going on your Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance practice, and it's very cold and rainy, like that might be more challenging. Just like building a campfire is more difficult when it's cold and rainy than when it's a beautiful, hot, sunny day with very dry, wood and other stuff that you're working with for your materials. Doing this dance is like a form of becoming a miniature star. I'm pointing at the light out my window. Becoming a miniature star, becoming a tiny, combustor on the stellar network. So a lot of this is about heat and a lot of this is about light. So that makes it a lot easier for me if it is sunny and warm out. But of course I do it even if it's not sunny and warm out. I do the dance every day that I feel able to do it. So I want to characterize this because I'm not so much of a hard ass and I don't want anyone else to feel like so much of a hard ass. Let's say you're feeling tired, you didn't get enough sleep the night before. No, you don't have to do lasagna. You got a cold. No, you don't have to do lasagna. You are not mentally together for whatever reason. You just got a bad phone call. No, you don't have to do the lasagna. You should do the lasagna as a ceremony or a practice or a thing that you do that is a joyful expression, not a mundane chore. Not like, oh, I gotta wash the dishes and I gotta do the lasagna. It should be something that you love to do, that you're excited to do, and not an obligation. When I'm done with it, how do you know when you're done? Okay, so it's not a question of one song or two songs or 5 songs or 10 songs or whatever. The amount of energy that I have is directly related to how much food I've eaten, how much rest I've gotten, and how much sunlight I have available to me. So if I have lots and lots of sunlight available to me and I just had lots of food and lots of rest, I could do 10 songs, 20 songs. I could do it for an hour. I could probably do it for 2 hours. And my understanding is that what happens when we go through this transformation, it's not like pole shift, like, oh, everyone's going to die. We're all going to start dancing like lasagnas and just never stop. So that's what's really going on. So it might be a 2-hour session might sound like a lot of dancing, but it's really just, there's just a little precursor to what we're going to go into this levels of, complete expansion very imminently. That's why I'm doing this today, because this is really important. You need to have the lessons for how to fly through time. We are doing this flight. It's time to get going. So you know that you're doing it right when you get into these feelings of, I keep using that word, ecstasy or ecstatic union. You feel really rocking. You feel really euphoric. You don't have to take drugs in order to feel this good. You feel wonderful and connected and inspired, and like you're getting all the ideas for all the things that you need to do, your projects, whatever you need to work on, the projects, the ideas come to you. And then I know that I'm full. Like, how do you know when your tummy is full of food? I know that I'm full, like I'm complete, when I get to a particular level of joyfulness and fulfillment. It's kind of like sexual fulfillment, and what this is, it is a form of cosmic lovemaking, so it is on that level. Like you feel completion, you feel complete, like, I did it, I got there. And then in getting there, the journey doesn't end. So I complete my dance, my feet come together, my hands come together, and you always thank your partners. say, that was awesome. That was rocking. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the, you know, microbes and redwood trees and butterflies and dogs and everyone who danced alongside of me. And then I'm full of energy. It's like having a giant energetic meal. So I do a couple of different things. I hug a living person, hug a dog. I check out my garden. I put good energy into my garden. Like I touch the plants. You know, I hug a dog, but I'll talk to the plants. And I'll say, you're awesome. You're wonderful. Whatever you want to put energy into, like you just got a giant banquet meal. I'll come inside and I'll start going on a painting. I'll play some music, put energy into my creative expressions. And you might want to ground with some protein. So if all of this is like, if you ate your carbs before you did the exercise, blah, blah, you just used up a lot of energy. You might need to eat something good to recover. So I usually eat some protein afterwards, something that is, you know, healthy and good for my body. And I take that energy of what I did in the lasagna dance and I bring it into the rest of my day. And the lasagna dance is also a rearranging of reality. So I don't come to the dance with an agenda. I don't usually say like, oh, I am dancing in order to fix this, this, and this in reality. Even though before I do the dance, I usually look on the news of the day and I'm like, oh, that's totally screwed up. That's totally screwed up. That should get fixed, fix, all the laundry list of things that you need to fix. But I don't usually think of that when I'm doing the dance, but it's part of it. It's part of what motivates me to do this. And then afterwards, I'll check in again, like, oh, what's going on in the news? And be like, did things change? And I encourage everyone to do this, whatever. It's maybe not in the news, but it might be in your personal life. Like, first things are like this, then you do your lasagna dance, then look at the results. Look at how things have changed. Stand back from your painting and squint and look at it and say, how did things change by what I just did? And it can be incredibly fun and gratifying to see those changes. And again, it's a cumulative dance, like building a time crystal that science talks about, or painting a oil painting with many layers put on over time. It's a cumulative dance. So I've been doing my dance and building my lasagna muscles for many, many years. And it's, you know, hugely fun and exciting to see the painting, the masterpiece that is developing. If you're just getting going, like, please be understanding and loving of yourself. It takes time to build your lasagna muscles, and it takes time to, you know, begin to see these massive reverberations into reality. I want to move forward so I can read the chat. So I'm just gonna move forward, coming forward. Oh, over. Can we come over here? Here. I'm gonna go like this. Let's see. I still can't read. I'm gonna go even closer. Here, come closer. Oh, are you so annoyed that I have to move you? So sorry. So sorry. Let's read what's going on over here. Thank you guys. Chloe, thank you for saying, she's saying Cheeky was very hilarious. Thank you guys for understanding that Cheeky was totally showing off on camera by getting busy with her little stuffed orangutan. That's her favorite thing in the world to do. And she is very healthy, that she has the sex drive. And thank you for understanding that that's what she was wanting to be famous for in this video. Cheeky's twerking video. Thank you, Marco. Thank you for tuning in. Josie's also going to bed. You guys are on another continent. Have a great time. Stacy says, do I feel a vibrational change or shift immediately, or does it take practice and get stronger over time? Both. The answer is yes, I feel a vibrational shift immediately. And also I have noticed that my dance has gotten stronger over time. My confidence in my dance has gotten stronger, just like my ability to choose the right music. You know, if I'm listening to a song now in my musical capacity, when I first started to teach myself music, I would listen to something and I'd be like, maybe it's this note. No, maybe it's this one. No, maybe, no, it's this one down here. And now I'm a lot more confident. Like if I hear something, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I need to play in order to integrate into that music. That is how I feel about my dance at this point. When I first started doing my dance, I was not as sure of myself. And there's all sorts of comments from the peanut gallery, always, when I would do this dance of like, no, you should be like this. No, you should be like this. Like, you know, in the Olympics, there used to be the Russian judges where it's like, they'd always take off a point no matter what, even if you were really good. I felt like I was always dancing in front of the Russian judges. And at a certain point, I'm like, I threw them out the window. I'm like, you guys are all lame ass losers and you don't even know how to, you don't even have a body. You don't even know how to dance lasagna. You don't know what you're doing. And I think at that point I became really free because I didn't have to care anymore how I was being perceived by either internal or external critics. And I just became very free in what I was doing. And so that's it's very similar to being an artist. Like maybe, you know, if you're first in art school, you don't have confidence and you wonder like, is my thing good? Does it look good? Like you need someone to tell you like, yes, your painting is good. But after a certain number of years of painting, and especially when you have, like, you know what you're trying to express, you know what you're trying to portray, and you know whether you've done it right. That's the big thing. Like with my paintings here that are so formal and whatever, symmetrical and everything, like I make my own rules and I know when I followed them and when I did a good job. And I know when I screwed something up and I made something the wrong color and I made a mistake, like I know. And I also know when my paint doesn't dry exactly perfectly and when there's problems with consistency or texture. I know. I don't need to have anyone else come along and tell me that. And I feel like it's the same thing with my lasagna dance, that as I've grown as an artist, as a visual and auditory artist, that I'm much more confident in my self-expression. I know what I'm going for and I know when I hit the target and when I fall short. And same thing in my dance. Like I know what I'm going for. And mostly what I'm going for is a total healing of our entire world. So that healing of that world, that's like healing of our economy, healing of our social structures, healing of our relation of humanness to the rest of life that is here, healing of all the other life that is here, healing of my own personal body, healing of my own personal finances, but healing myself in relation to the rest of all that is here. That's hugely important. Like it would not be healing for me if I simply had a lot of money and lived in a gated house on a mansion on a hill and everyone else was starving and dying. That would not be real healing for me. So I've had to question my priorities and look at what's really important, and that's what I'm always doing my dance for, because like it's a magical dance. If you have a magical dance, like man, you can make anything happen. The sky is the limit. You don't have to think like, oh, it's too impractical, no one can afford this, we can't all live in mansions. Like no, we could really change. So wait, let me get to questions. Wait. Oh, I hope that if someone's saying there's weird audio, let me mute everyone. I'm sorry if I didn't know if there was someone else talking. Okay, wait. So let's go to, so Joel says, so with your physical dance movements, you are creating those to match what is going on inside, but everyone's dance can be created in the moment. Thank you, that is exactly right. So my physical movements of my hands and my feet and everything like that are absolutely mimicking what is happening on a subcellular level with the vibrating and movement of my DNA. That is absolutely correct. But Joelle asks, is everyone's dance can be created in the moment? Yeah, that's exactly what is happening. It's like being in a jazz band where you've got a piano player and a bass player and a singer and a drummer, and everybody is playing their own particular part that they are innovating in the moment, and all the parts fit together. That's virtuosity. So in our world, the example of that would be these various different life forms. Like we have humans as a life form, that's like the drums. Then we have microbes, that's like the guitar player. Then we have horses and cats and domesticated animals, that's like the bass player. Then we have redwood trees, that's the jazz flute. Like we got all these different band members, and trees eat different food than humans. Like we cannot say that all of these organisms are exactly the same. They're not. They have different needs and they have different, requirements and a different definition of what is success. Success to a tree is growing very, very tall, and success to a human is not necessarily growing very tall. It's like might be something different. So yeah, different agendas and motivation. The virtuosity is in respecting all of these diverse agendas and finding some way to have them all fit together harmonically, have them all harmonize. Jen asks, is putting your fingers together erasing or ending the measure of what you are doing? So the erasure and measure break, I usually do like this. Oh, I'm arranging my spaghetti. Stacking my spaghetti before I'm going to cut my pasta. So I usually a little like shaking like this, and then bringing together. And I'm now erasing. I'm erasing all the stuff I don't want to have happen, because I was writing a script. With my dance movements, I was writing a script of reality, things that could possibly happen. And I write that script with my mind and with my heart and with my connection to divine life force energy. And then when I'm like, oh no, I don't want blah, blah, blah to happen, well, I'm just going to erase that as I'm bringing my fingers together. So I am erasing the things that I don't want. Oh, I've just cleaned up that whole entire area of the musical score. I'm creating a measure break. And in that moment, I then expand outward from that position or from that stance into the next moment of expansion. And it's a constant expansion and then proliferation where I'm doing stuff. And then, oh, look at that. I'm going to bring it all back together. And then I'm going to expand again. And I hope you guys can see from the movement of my muscles, when I'm bringing it together, I am really working my muscles. I am really feeling a resistance. There's something there. It might feel like at a certain point, like you are moving not just through atmosphere or air, but that there's a fluid around you, and the fluid around you is actually time. And as you become more adept, you will feel the fluid and imagine that, when I'm doing this, I'm making a wave, and that wave is going all around my body. And then I have that waveform around my body. And so, there's a couple of, like, you're making your own waveforms and then you can surf your own waves. And at the end of my experience, like, I'm bringing it all in, I'm finishing all of my music, I will just sit. Like this, and feel, it's like you've done the crescendo, the crashing reverberations, you're in the giant vaulted space, and then it's done. You just kind of sit, like you basically sit within your own energy field, or you've created all these wonderful aromas, and you should sit and you should smell it. Or you've grown this garden, you should sit, you should be in the garden. So that's a big part of it. We are dancing, being very active, being very dynamic, making stuff happen in the world. And then we're also experiencing the end results of the dynamism and movements that we've put into reality. So a part of it is moving, and then a part of it is being still within the context of movement that we have created and feeling all of those movements that are happening. I gotta squint. Okay, Stacy says, is there a store online you can buy cannabis for smoothies? I wish, girl. I seriously wish. So she wants to know, is it different than cannabis you smoke? Yes, it is, in the non-decarboxylated form. That means cannabis that has not been heated or dried. It does not cross the blood-brain barrier. And psychoactivity is great. I'm drinking some of my wonderful juice. Psychoactivity is great. I have no problem with that. If you want to have a psychedelic journey and, play music with Jimi Hendrix on the surface of Jupiter, that's fantastic. However, I need to be, be focused and, be able to be functional during my day. So I usually do CBD tinctures and raw cannabis juice during the day. And I will take THC at the end of the day when my responsibilities are over and it's just time for me to be relaxed. It would be wonderful if we could all simply go to our local produce section of the grocery store and grab a handful of cannabis leaves and just put it in your morning juice. That's the promised land. In the promised land, we will all do that. But right now, very challenging to find it in its raw form. There's one collective that I know of in Southern California that does do raw juice, and they will ship it in frozen shipments, kind of like Omaha steaks. It's a bit expensive, so you got to be prepared for that. And I know that there are some dispensaries that make available the tinctures of THCA. It's like THC-A, which is the acidic, non-decarboxylated form. So you can find it, but it can be a real challenge because it does not get you high, and so not a lot of people are interested in it. So Stacy says, I do not at all like anything that alters my meditation or consciousness. I understand. And she tried the gummy bears one time in Colorado and felt like juice inside of her body, flying through the muscles, blood, etc., and couldn't stop it. So yeah, that sounds like you had a very heavy trip. Yeah, totally. I'm completely agreeing with you. Yes, I wish for you to have access to wonderful sunshine and cannabinoid, endocannabinoid stuff, but I understand that for a lot of people, THC is way too psychedelic, and you can build up a tolerance to THC, and then you won't necessarily feel like you're having this profound trip, but it can be not a functional thing to do unless you can book some time and not have to do your regular daily responsibilities. But yeah, I want everyone to know, I do my regular daily responsibilities. That's very important. Joelle says, Aurora, can you also talk about what you feel is happening in reality imminently that you just mentioned? Yeah, absolutely. What are you feeling right now? I know I've been feeling a lot of shifts happening and things climaxing in a way. So thank you for that question, because today is, March 20th. It is the the vernal equinox. And it's also, so it's a very powerful manifestation time. I've spoken about this a lot, the idea that we are giving birth to a new dimension, and that we've been going through labor contractions, just as a woman goes through contractions in having an actual birth of a baby, for many years. And, I talk about birth of a new dimension as this transformative moment where our inside becomes projected and externalized in the outer world. That's what Flying Rainbow Lasagne is. When I do this dance, I'm not just waving my arms and legs around. I'm not just doing exercises like Pilates. I'm actually changing the world. I'm manifesting things from my inside to my outside. And that's a revolutionary act. And the more people that do that revolutionary act, the more that our world changes. We're in that moment of profound world change. And to me, I'm not going to make predictions about the future, because the future is unexplored. We're in uncharted territory. That's what Lasagne is all about. All of the prophecies that have been made up until this point are no longer relevant, because now we have a rearranger of the Rubik's Cube of reality. All of those prophecies, we're talking about reality in its former format. Now reality is in a new format that those prophecies no longer relate to. So I cannot and will not make a prediction about the future and say, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. This is exactly what's going to happen. The truth is, nobody knows exactly what is going to happen. We are going to enter into a time of complete unpredictability, where anything can happen in the world of pure imagination. I like the original one, not the one with Johnny Depp. You know what I'm talking about here. So what is happening right now is that many of us are coming online in terms of, I'm just finding my words here, reaching our full potential as divine miniature co-creators. That many of us are now recognizing, hey, wait, we've all been taught a lot of lies that tell us we're just tiny poopy sinners and that we are not powerful, and we're recognizing, wait a minute, we actually are powerful, and we're actually using our transformative abilities to metamorphose our own bodies and also transform the reality around us. Yes, and I see it as a very positive transformation. So basically, this shape, it is the graphic representation of what happens when your inside gets manifested in the outside realm. I don't know what your guys' inside is like, but I know what my inside is like. My inside is joyful and, are artistic and interested in freedom and interested in unconditional love and interested in collaborating with other cool musicians and having a lot of fun. That is what I am manifesting into my outer world with this shape. So I am manifesting in my own personal life expanded artistic possibilities in terms of the musical projects that I'm making and who I'm working with and how I'm sharing my ideas and sharing my work. And that's the shape that it takes for me. And also greater athleticism and health and things like that. I don't know what it will look like for each one of you, but it will be something similar along those lines. Like the project or endeavor that you've always wanted to do now becomes available to you. The people that you have always been wishing for and wanting to connect with, you are now able to connect with in terms of your, your professional endeavors, but also in terms of your, your friendship and your personal fulfillment. And a lot of people that I talk with, they're like, Aurora, you're the only person I can talk with about these things. And I tell them, yes, for now, but it won't always be that way. Like we've been sprinkled throughout the human mycelium and very isolated from one another, but now we get to come together. We're like musicians in a band coming together. You get to actually meet with and jam with the other good, cool musicians. And a big part of this rectification is resources that for a long time, the very good musicians and people that had their heart in the right place did not have all the money and all the resources, and the stupid jerk-faced losers had all the money and resources. That's a complete flip-flop. We're going to have a rectification of that. But what will it look like? Will it look like we still have money? Will it look like maybe we don't have money? Maybe we will have money for a time, but then maybe we won't need money anymore. So we're moving into this realm of pure a mind-created realm. And like I said, I know what is in my mind. I know what's inside of me. I've got good stuff inside of me. So I'm not afraid, thinking, oh no, what's going to happen? Like, good stuff is going to happen. But really, this is a question of what is inside of each one of us, and then what is going to be manifested outside. You say, Aurora, but there's a lot of crazy, screwed up people in the world. What if they start manifesting their crazy, screwed upness outside? Yes. So a big thing on Flying Rainbow Lasagne is that it's not the type of a tool or practice that can be weaponized or used for evil. And I made that really, really clear in my creation of it. Because there are very many practices or magical techniques or whatever that were invented that are essentially neutral, and then evil takes is like, oh, good, that's a good thing I can use to be even more evil. If an evil being, it's like, I'm going to take Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I'm going to use it to be even more evil. What it would do is make them go to entropy faster. That's what basically happens. That this is a way of rearranging reality so that everybody starts to go in the direction they're supposed to be going. And some people or energy beings are supposed to be going towards entropy, towards non-being. That's the whole point of this. So if something that's not supposed to be in existence comes along and says, I'm going to steal the lasagna from you and I'm going to use it to whatever, as soon as it takes lasagna, it says, oh wait, I'm not actually supposed to be in existence, and poof, it poofs out of reality. So that's why none of this is a secret. This is another thing. So it's like, I didn't do the entire dance for you guys, but I demonstrated, a lot of it, and I'll make the Dropbox thing available. None of this is a secret. It's not like, oh, I have to keep it a secret from the evil occult societies because they're going to try to take lasagna and turn it into something evil. No, actually, they can learn all about lasagna. And I kind of joke about this. I don't want them to be in my class, but if they want to watch my videos, they can watch my videos, because they're just going to incinerate themselves. Like, if you try to do lasagna and you are profoundly evil, you will rectify your profound evilness. You'll take yourself out of reality. So I'm trying to say, good people, you don't have to worry about doing it wrong. And you don't have to worry about it being co-opted or stolen by evil people and used as a control system or a weapon. They ain't going to weaponize the lasagna against all of us. That's a really actually important one. Jen is saying Nutiva makes a hemp powder and it comes in a few flavors. Yes, that is a hemp seed powder, or it might be powdered hemp, the actual, like it might include the plant matter of hemp. That can be really good to eat, so you can check that out. Pedro says, my FRL is foiling all the pooties, the pesky occupiers of the interstices, while I put Amerikaba on everything else. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And I appreciate very much your participation in the class and your various witty acronyms and things like that. This is the way to approach this. This is, we do not need to be intimidated by our adversaries. We recognize that they're there. It's just like if there's pathogens in the world. Pathogens exist. And you also have a very strong immune system that helps to fight against those pathogens so that you don't have a bunch of microbes killing you. So these beings that have been, harming humanity for so long, they are like, pathogens. And it's time for us now to have this huge healing and rectification. What happens to the fleas of the world when we all metamorphose? Their fleas don't have anything to eat anymore. And no offense to fleas, but they ain't gonna be there. They ain't gonna be in the promised land. The fleas will not come with us to the promised land. Let me read what you're saying. Alvenori. I'm sorry, I'm so far back from here. I'm like squinting because my boss is on my lap. She says, just coming to tell you that today is the spring equinox and a new beginning is being pointed. I just had a wonderful meditation and I included all I learned here so far. Wonderful. Thank you, Aurora. It's 1:32 a.m. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you tuned in even though it's so late. Thank you. Can't wait to hear today a lesson. Much love back to you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. And yes, I told you the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, this lesson is not actually lesson 13 of the class. So there were other things that were, but because today that were part of the recorded, syllabus, because today is the vernal equinox, and yes, it is about new beginnings, and yes, it also feels like, when I've always tailored my presentations to fit with or respond to what we are experiencing in the larger reality, even though I've been doing this for 6 years, and sometimes I have a couple of semesters each year. So the lessons are not always the same. So this is what I felt needed to come out today. This is it. It's like saying, okay, guys, like we've given birth. We're a brand new baby. We just came out of the birth canal. What do you want our lives to be like? What do we want our new life as a planetary structure to be like? And I've been seeing wonderful conversations of people, collaborating and sharing their ideas of how we can better structure reality. And that's a big thing here, because, I'm here, I'm a galactic visitor. I came here to this planet, right? I didn't originate from here. And a big part of this is, I'm not here as some outsider to impose my ideas upon the native inhabitants here. That would be very unethical and wrong and poopy of me to do that. What would be a lot cooler is if I came here and I'm like, hey guys, here's my music. Here's what I play like. What do you play like? Let's play our music together. Let's figure out a good way that we can all improve life on this planet by playing our music together. That's very, very different than imposing my music. So that's what I'm trying to say with the idea of each one of you becoming Flying Rainbow Lasagnes, becoming your own tiny variables that confound the larger structure that thrives on predictability. Like, I want everybody, I want you to know that your innovations and your own artistry are respected and valued. And that I wouldn't just come here and squash everything and say lasagna uber alles, and it doesn't matter if you don't like what I'm singing here. Pedro's got a link to the hemp. Oh, there's a hemp extract with CBD, but there's different things. So here's what you guys need to know in terms of ingesting cannabis. There's hemp, which is just different phenotype of the same genotype of cannabis. CBD is found in hemp. It's tiny fractions of THC are found in hemp, but they're not allowed to be shipped or disseminated due to federal government laws. So a lot of CBD that you get in tinctures is made not from cannabis or medical cannabis, but is made from hemp derivatives. And that's totally fine and cool. And most of them are tested at this point for heavy metal contamination, because hemp and cannabis are such a great phytoremediator. Those CBD extracts are very different than hemp seed oil, which is when you take the actual seeds of the plant and squash them in a press and make like salad dressing oil. So hemp seed oil is great and has tons of omega fatty acids that are good for your body, but they are not the same in terms of a therapeutic and dietary supplement as CBD. And CBD is not the same as CBD from hemp is not the same as full spectrum CBD that comes from a medical cannabis plant that might also have trace elements of THC in it. However, you can purchase hemp seed oil legally online, CBD extracts legally online. Those can be shipped any place federally. And some places you can get this like powdered hemp powder, but it's just like leaves of the plant that are powdered that does not have any THC. So basically, you cannot get THC legally through the mail, but you can get tons of CBD products legally through the mail. Joelle says, I know I haven't heard from a few different sources that there is a new earth waiting for us, but what we have to be living in a copy, mirror, shadow, sort of inverted version of the real earth. What do I think? Thank you for that question. There's a lot of people and they talk about we're moving into the fifth dimension. You know what I teach about that we have already been in the fifth dimension for a long amount of time. It's like having a limb that is in another world, but we just haven't been able to effectively control that limb. So we all have this higher dimensional version of self that is our fifth dimensional and higher self, but most people there have not yet developed their senses, their eyes and their ears, and their sensations to be able to be active and virtuosos in that higher dimensional realm. So it's my understanding that this new earth or template or new possibilities of the future, it is in existence and we are already inhabiting it. And there's overlaps between these two layers of existence. And my understanding is that it's really a question of becoming virtuosos in the world of pure imagination, in the world that it's a mind-created world. We are moving into a world that is a purely mind-created realm. And this realm that we're moving out of has been a partially mind-created realm. And it might appear as if there is a seamless transition. Like if I move from this realm into the purely mind-created realm, world of pure imagination, my room might still look the same. This might be the world of pure imagination that looks exactly like my studio with my dog and everything in it, but it's a different starting point. So that's this, your starting point is like kind of the springboard, like where you transitioned from, but it's not the end of the journey. That's just where you're starting from. And then you can move off into even greater directions. So there's expanded levels of freedom. So like I'm troubled when people say to me, hey, I'm in 5D. Are you in 5D? Like, okay, like there's this whole condescension, elitism thing. Like, I'm better than you. Are you better than me? Who are we better than? There's that. And there's also this question of like, so in a hierarchical assessment, which is inappropriate, who is higher than whom? And also in these overlaps that we're experiencing, it's a question of what are you focusing on? Like there's the really wonderful, refined music, and then also some static on the line. And the static on the line, this is like stuff that's coming from the old context that we are coming out of. So it's essential to focus on the real music and the real melodies that you want. Money is a good example of this, that the static on the line is the understanding from the old paradigm that you have to do stuff that you don't want in order to get money. You got to work for the man in order to get a pat on the head, which is your paycheck. And we're moving into this new experience of having abundance where you get paid more for doing the stuff that you really love than for sacrificing what you really want to do and doing something mediocre and crappy instead. And it's like, it's not a 100%, we're not 100% there yet. So like, I'm still waiting to get paid $1 million to do my paintings, which is what I really love, instead of having to do menial chores or something like that. So yes, it takes focus. And also part of it is in terms of emotional state, moving into the levels of reality that you wish to occupy and staying there. So I sometimes get bounced out of those levels by like annoyance or whatever. As I'm like, I'm like in a very euphoric, tuned in state. And then like a stupid thing happens. Like I can't get the wrapper to go into the garbage can. And I'm like, stupid thing. And I'm like crashing back down into the mundane reality. It's like, oh, okay, like the thing doesn't matter. Stay in the world of pure imagination. So I think a lot of it has to do with our emotional landscape and what level of reality we are tuning into. At this point, and I'm sorry if it took a lot of blobbing for me to get to this, at this point, we are all overlapping. People that are going towards entropy are overlapping with people that are going towards energy, but it won't always be that way. At a certain point, the people that are on a different time track, they won't be here anymore. They have gone off in a different direction. Life will get easier. But we're not there yet, but it'll happen. I'm telling you. And this is not just like glad handling you or telling you life is going to be so great when. But yeah, the crappy musicians, what I understand is happening is, first, the good musicians will focus their ears away from the crappy musicians. Crappy musicians continue to play crap and be in existence in the world. Then at a certain point, crappy musicians get on their own train and go to a different timeline, and they're not here, and you don't have to spend so much effort trying to focus away from what they are playing. So these are transitionary stages that we are going through in terms of understanding New Earth or whatever. Yeah, we got to kick out the pathogens, and the political posturings are part of that, to kick out the pathogenic structures that are in banking, religion, and politics. And these go back to ancient artificial intelligences and also ancient, what can we call it? Invaders to this world. Let me read what's going on over here. So I want to make sure. So wait, but your question was, I'm not sure if I answered your question effectively. What we have been living in is a copy of an inverted version. Yeah, so the inverted version is kind of like stupid crapheads get a lot of money in the inverted world, as opposed to good people that are helping people get a lot of money, which is how it's supposed to be. Or crappy musicians earn a lot of money and dance around on a stage, as opposed to good musicians have all of the gigs and run around on a stage and get paid for it. So yeah, we're in this inverted world, and it's now time to experience the rectification. Stacy says, I wanted to manifest going to ECT in July. I was so excited when I saw you were going to be there. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I would like to get some cannabis you can eat at that doesn't alter you. I also have been a little rheumatoid arthritis. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, good. I'm so happy. I hope that you are able to make it to ECT. That would be wonderful to see you there. Yeah, good. Yeah, Joel's agreeing with me about that. assessment about New Earth. And Chloe says, it was designed to have inequality. Exactly. It's like the game of musical chairs. They intentionally did not put out enough chairs for everyone in the game. In kindergarten, someone is going to go home crying. Someone has got to be poor in the way that the socioeconomic paradigm was set up. It was intentional. And it wasn't set up by humans. It was set up by, these artificial extraterrestrials. That's lesson 18. We're going to get into that. Yeah. Okay, Pedro wants to know, when is all this happening? Soon? Hey, it's happening right effing now, my friend. It happens in your individual life first, and then you see it in the rest of the world. So you experience this healing and expansive freedom and changes in your own individual life, and then it expands outward. And for a long time, each individual, we've been like candles that have been separated by huge oceans of darkness. It's been hard to connect with the other people that are also going in the same trajectory. Now you connect with the other good band members. You connect with the other good musicians. So it's not like you're strumming your guitar in your own garage and you can't play with the rest of the band. That's what it's been like for many decades. Now it's like, oh, you get to connect with the other good thinkers and the other inspirers and the other people that are not super egotistical crap heads, and you can actually do fun stuff with them. So yes, there might still be stupid politicians that are in existence. Hold on a second. Those are the pathogens that need to be cleansed. We need to get rid of them. But if they're still there, you can still get going on your projects. Find the people you're supposed to collaborate with. Find the people, like whatever is your gig. If you do art, find the other people to collaborate with. If you do music, I've been connecting with the other musicians and lovers of music, or lovers of creating music, in order to be able to do these things. This is what this is. This is, we labored in obscurity and without connecting to one another, and now we join our individual specialties together and become a wonderful, super awesome band. It's happening right now. Randy says, tell your past, your messages made it into the future. Taters, you're wonderful. I'm laughing. I just need to drink a little something here. Yeah. When I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I do reach into the future, and I reach into my future self, and I get all the healing and nutrition that I need in order to be able to make it through this time, because it's very challenging to be here. Not just for me, but for all of us. Like, we've faced levels of environmental toxicity and things that are trying to inhibit us from being able to think clearly. 5G is a huge issue with that. I'm here with you in solidarity. It's as challenging for me to be here as it is for you. And I'm doing all the work, and we do the work in order to build the muscles. And then when you build the muscles, then you're like, this is easy. Not easy like, I know someone who runs a mega marathon. Like, it ain't easy, but like after you train, you can do it. You're like, oh, I can do this. So the things that might be considered, so insurmountable, are not insurmountable. They are actually quite accomplishable. So yes, I connect with my future self through Flying Rainbow Lasagne all the time in order to get the ideas and inspiration and nourishment that I need to make it to become that person. And I would encourage all of us to do that. Connect with that version of self that is in the future. You could consider it like utopian, or a perfected, a wonderful world that we live in. And gain guidance and energy and inspiration from that version of self. This has been a marathon. Wait, just one more question. Okay. Stacy says, Aurora, are there nefarious walk-ins here as well as you? Do you have to be benevolent? Thank you for that question. Yes, there are horrible, horrible, monstrous walk-ins. And I didn't know that when I first came here, and I would tell people like, oh, I'm a walk-in. They'd say, you're a body snatcher? I would say, no, I'm not a body snatcher. I'm this, I'm that. So I had to learn, like, yeah, these some of these secret societies, Masons, occult people, they do negative walk-ins. You can tell my voice is tired. This will be my last question. So yeah, some of it is family demons that are transferred down the lineage. Some of it is malevolent extraterrestrials that are like, oh, I like that body, I'll walk into that body. And they might portray themselves as a god or an ascended master. They're like, let me take over your body, I'm a god. Be like, okay, sure, do it. But they're not. They're just, a horrible loser, and they're pretending to be a god. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fizz. Right on. Awesome. I will tell you guys, I feel like I just ran a marathon and like my voice is tired and I need to go out and get some sunshine and probably do the walkies with this little person over here. Pedro says, with all the changes happening in the world, I would say that we are changing things for the better. I hope I yes, I would completely agree. I see all of the changes that are happening on the political spectrum with people being much more aware of political corruption, being aware of human trafficking, being aware of the, let's call it, the economy of hell. The more people understand about that and you can talk about that and not be considered, crazy or not be ostracized, that's a huge change and a huge improvement. Because once we can overtly talk about the evil monsters that are here, then that's like the key to being able to actually vanquish them. Thank you, Jen says that was awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Happy springtime to all of you. Love back to you, Pedro. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for understanding. Thank you for being patient with Cheeky when she was just a little inappropriate in class and understanding that now we need to go and have a little walk and whatever. I know, because I'm trying to be all like super serious. I'm going to teach you about flying lasagna. Oh, thank you so much, Jen. Thank you. Yeah, now it's true. Chloe says, now we know why she's called cheeky. You totally understand. She lived up to her name today. She is very, very cheeky. So thank you very much, guys, with profound appreciation. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all the wonderful, loyal, long-term students that have been with me in this journey, on this class. And I don't know if I made it clear, like when I was answering that question about New Earth, like we're here. We are here. I'm not about one of these new age like glad handlers or whatever telling you everything is so great. No, we still have a huge bunch of everything to have to clean up, but now we have a bucket and a mop. So imagine if you moved into a house and you looked around and you're like, well, this is pretty dirty and this stuff over here, but we've got cleaning products and we've got the house keys and we are allowed to be here and we're going to fix it up and make it look so awesome and wonderful. So we're at that point in the journey. So even though like it can be very exhausting, I often feel exhausted. I don't know if it shows in what I do, because I'm always like, woohoo, let's keep going. But it's very exhausting to be here. And it's like, oh my God, is this ever going to happen? Yes, it is going to happen. It is happening right now. And it happens individually in your own lives, and then it also happens collectively. And I see so many things that are happening in terms of individuals awakening and having a clearer view of political corruption and social iniquity and really wanting to make changes. And I won't get too political, but I would just say very here at the end, like the government, the international government is so profoundly corrupt that you can't vote your way out of this. This is something that needs to be massively restructured. And the past 2 years have just been everybody getting to the point of understanding like, oh, wait, you can't fix this. This is a crap that is so big, you can't fix it. You're going to have to scoop it up and start again. That's what's going on. So I'm gratified to see so many people that are coming to understand that. Yeah, Joelle says, yeah, it feels like there's no time and I'm always tired. Well, you know something? We're experiencing changes in the elasticity of time. And I also have been feeling very tired too. Like sometimes I have to take a nap at 5 p.m. and that is totally not normal for me and my body and my energy. We're having a lot of influxes of energy that are coming from the sun and the stellar network. We are totally changing and metamorphosizing on a cellular and genetic level, and our social structure is changing on a profound level. And the government and the beings that love the status quo of the social structure, they're like, oh no, things are changing. They're like biting their finger, oh no, things are changing. But I'm like, oh yes, things are changing. I'm going to Flying Rainbow Lasagne and things are going to change whether you like it or not. So that's like, they don't like it because they're all wearing business suits and it is very inconvenient to them, but it's actually very good for us. Chloe says, oh yes, she's exhausted for the last 2 days and she thought it was full moon stuff. It can be full moon stuff. It can be integration of the energy that's coming from the sun and the stellar network. I mean, it's very challenging to be here. And in some of my inner experiences, I get into these moments of like almost forgetfulness where I don't remember what day is it, what year is it, what time is it, who am I? And I almost have to swim back to myself and be like, oh yes, I'm Aurora and it's March and this is what's going on. Like I think that we are getting unmoored in time where we don't have an anchor that keeps us in one particular place, and that freedom can actually be good, but we have to kind of find our navigation capacities and our balance to be able to do this. Jen says, I know you want to wrap up. Just wondering if you have seen vids of planets that look like they are just color and energy constantly moving. Yes, I've seen some of those pictures. And I think that what we are looking at is optical problems with optics. I think that it's not that there is some watery firmament that we are looking at the planets through. I think that the actual ability to focus on some of these digital cameras is not effective enough to be able to pick up the stars. So although I do generally tend to have more of a supernatural viewpoint of what things are and what is going on. If someone takes like a P900 and they use that to look at a star and it looks like a warbly thing, I think that that's because their equipment is not up to the task of being able to see a star without distortion from optics. And I think a lot of the same things are going on when we're looking at a lot of lens flares when people are trying to see if there are extrasolar bodies, and also the black disks that are in front of the sun. I think a lot of those are artifacts from digital photography. And again, I'm all about the supernatural, but I also have to recognize when I think that something is just because of the machine that we're using to be able to perceive something. Yes, exactly, Jen. The atmosphere being like a wobbly, watery thing that we're looking at this light through. Yeah, good. Oh, very good, Joelle. Intense stretching on the inside. That is exactly right. Yeah, so let's leave it at the idea of using our inner capacities to dance a new reality into being, that you don't need anybody's permission, but I remind you that you have this inner capacity, that this is totally dismaying to the control structure that's like, don't dance like a lasagna, you're screwing up my status quo. Yes, we shall all dance like lasagnas. Screw your status quo, we don't care. And to do all this joyfully. This is a revolution. This is a revolution. It is not done with guns and bombs. And I know that using those words makes me not algorithmically correct. None of the things that what I promote is all about not being violent. You do not, I don't say to anyone, pick up a gun and that's how you get freedom. No, actually, that's not how I say you get freedom. You know how you get freedom? Dance like a flying rainbow lasagna. Whatever you don't like about the government that you need to overflow, put that into your dance, or overthrow rather. Dance into a new reality where there's no longer political corruption, where there is no longer extreme levels of tax that are then being deployed for projects that are completely unethical and stupid. Dance so that we no longer have environmental degradation. Oh, and one of the other things, like, I'm new to this world. I've been here for about 18 years and I have huge cultural blind spots and historical blind spots. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So there's a lovely person who's in this class and she lives near an Alcoa aluminum plant. And she said, oh, she's going to start doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagne dance to clean up the pollution from that plant. That is why I encourage everyone to do the lasagna dance, because I didn't know about Alcoa. I didn't know that that needed to be done. I didn't know that there was a mess that needed to be mopped up with a bucket and a mop. So I'm encouraging everyone, take the bucket and a mop. Take what you know needs to be fixed and rectified in this world, and then use your consciousness to dance a new reality into being. Dance health for your body, dance vitality and abundance for your life, and dance into being the solutions to all of the things that you are personally aware of that need to be healed and fixed. Thank you. I'll end on that note. Thank you so much, Joelle. Thank you very much. Thank you. Joelle says she feels very supported and very joyful after class. That is the whole idea. That is, if there's one takeaway, it's the feeling. I am feeding you lasagna through this video intermediary and telepathically to the people that tune in. That's what I'm here for. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for eating lasagna. Thank you for being aware of these ideas and incorporating them into your own life. Literally, I thank you for doing that. You don't have to do that. You are doing that, and it is so wonderful and so helpful. Thank you, thank you, Jen. Yes, I'm happy to share my lasagna goodness with all of you. That's a good note to end upon. Have a wonderful night, everyone.